Good evening, everybody. The city of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory, upon which we gather with gratitude. I would like to call the public hearing for Monday, February 13th, 2023 to order. This public hearing is being convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act to consider the proposed Plan Parksville Amendment Bylaw 2022 number 1492.6 and Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2022 number 2000.138. At this public hearing, any person present who believes that his or her interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaws shall be given an opportunity to be heard on the matters contained in the proposed bylaws. However, it is important that all who speaks at this public hearing restrict their remarks to matters contained in the bylaws, and it is my responsibility as chair of this hearing to ensure that all remarks are so restricted. Those of you who wish to speak concerning this proposed bylaw should, at the appropriate time, commence your address to the council and public hearing by clearly stating your name and address for the record. Then you may give us the benefit of your views concerning the proposed bylaws. It should be noted, this public hearing is being recorded and web streamed live, and the recording will be posted to the website. The main function of council members this evening is to listen to the views of the public. This is where we listen. It is not a function of council at this public hearing to answer questions or debate the merits of the proposed bylaws with individual citizens. The public is also expected not to ask questions. We're here to listen to your statements, your opinion. Everyone who deems their interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. If you wish to provide a written submission to be included in the record of the public hearing, you must hand in that submission to the corporate officer prior to the close of that part of the public hearing, dealing with the bylaw you are speaking to. Once that part of the public hearing has been adjourned, council is not able to receive any further information from the public on that matter. During a public hearing, people sometimes become enthusiastic or emotional, regardless of whether you favor or oppose any particular application or argument. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their right to express their views, and enables all views expressed to be heard in a setting that is impartial as possible. For each bylaw, there will be 3 calls for speakers. Given the high turnout this evening, there will be a 2-minute time limit for each speaker during the first call, and a 1-minute limit for the second and third calls. If you've already spoken during the first call, we ask that you refrain from speaking again until everyone has had at least one opportunity to speak. After you have spoken, we ask that you follow staff direction and return to your seat or exit the council chambers to the atrium if you do not have a seat, or you can exit and go home if you wish. I will now ask Amanda Weeks, our corporate officer, to introduce the first item on the agenda, bylaw 1492.6.
So the purpose of the proposed amendment to the OCP is to change Schedule B, future land use map at 1465 Greig Road, legally described as Lot 3, District Lot 129, Nanoose District, Plan 2072, from both the single unit residential and planned neighborhood designations to only the planned neighborhood designation.
Thank you, Ms. Weeks. So the first item on our agenda is number 1, as just mentioned, Plan Parksville Amendment Bylaw 2022 number 1492.6. I would like to invite for the first time anyone who considers their interest in property to be affected by the proposed bylaw to come forward to the microphone. There's a podium here for those who can't see. There's a podium here with a little red light on it. That means it's ready to go. If you could line up, just as this gentleman has already, and you'll just be able to follow whatever way that you can line up so that you follow in an orderly fashion. Come forward to the microphone and then give your name and civic address for the record.
Steve Harris, 1016 Little Mountain Road, Parksville, British Columbia.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. O'Brien, last time I saw you, you were sitting over there on November the 3rd, a few years ago, when the former mayor tried to take over San Periel, French Creek, and parts of Arrington. I am very glad to see that you took the side of the people and listened, and I know you will today, because you're going to hear a lot of different attitudes towards what the bylaw is proposed to be. Make this quick, Steve. Okay, so the Greig Road for years has been the only reasonable off-leash area that we've enjoyed for healthy use for people to walk around and breathe clean air and walk their dogs. Qualicum Beach has the woods. Nanaimo has Dickinson Road. We have only Greig Road. The little park up there at Springwood is just not big enough. It's just a puppy training ground. The dog walkers keep very healthy, getting fresh air. How many dogs live here? Well, enough that the owners can swing a good vote. I speak for our four-legged friends. Humans do not like to be on leashes, neither do dogs. It changes their personality. This green space bothers no one. It is safe. The RDN and the city and the developers will do due diligence and follow the rules, and possibly this property will achieve its zoning agenda. To a quote, an old gentleman called Will Rogers. He says, bureaucrats are interested in procedure, not the outcome. He also said, buy land, son, they don't make it anymore. I'm closing, I hear the beep. I put it to the council, if this project passes, to please replace Greig Road with a good, viable trail system in our region. The measure of progress that you're going to hear from the people speaking today will be carried forward as the future is in our hands. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please. No applause, please. It just delays, and we'll be here for much longer than any of us want to be. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sally Sones. I live at 728 Ermineskin in Parksville, and you should see the other guy if you think this is. We've already detected several lies within the development project. One of them, one of the biggest ones, was the Nature Trust was going to look after the land. Nature Trust has never heard of this development company, and they're not in the business of looking after other people's land. That's one. There's also the farcical aspect of this public speaking, because past public things have happened for big projects. And what happens is once that public comment section is over, things change. I learned that with the beach club. The beach club showed one tower and a lower building. And I figured it wouldn't pass because it's in a wildlife management area. After the public comment, guess what? 2 towers and the lower building. And then Parksville told us that we had to buy a fire truck because we didn't have a ladder truck. And of course, when you're doing that, you have to have a fire engine station. So after the public comment, that's when everything comes out that we're not allowed to comment on. We're not allowed to comment on any of that. And we've had some pretty interesting developer behavior when Maple Glen was being proposed. That Romney Creek, boy, that was a real stick. That was awful. It was a fish-bearing stream. But after the public comment, the whole thing, well, there was a miracle. There was a miracle. It blew up. Somebody blew up that stream so that wouldn't impede the profit of the developer. Well, that's about it, because I'm just telling you that after this process, that's when the real development will be shown. And that is a crime.
Thanks, Ellen. Next, please.
It's nice following Sally because she's the same height as I am. My name is Elizabeth Bredberg. I live at 150 Corfield Street North. I begin by saying that it's apparent to me that the planned development and change to the zoning bylaw at Greig Road is a very bad idea. I oppose any change to the existing zoning for the area. I'm now very concerned with the threat raised to this environment and this community by untrammeled development. There are many reasons why the proposed development is a bad idea. There are many people here who will tell you about them. There's one I haven't heard discussed in any length at all. So I'll try to clarify why I think it's important. When the district group presented its proposal, they were asked if there were to be any shops or other resources in the area. And after a pause, some of you may remember this, the reply was, maybe a coffee shop. Great. People who live in this development would need to travel into town to buy groceries, receive healthcare, take their kids to school. 800 residential units, that's at least 800 vehicles, more likely 1,200. That's a lot of pollution going into the environment in a rather small area regularly. As I read about vehicular pollution, I realized something I think we should all find disturbing. There's now more pollution from a vehicle's tires than there is from exhaust. Property in Greig Road is either on a floodplain or raised above the floodplain. It's all going to be on hard surfaces. The chance of runoff is absolutely there. The substances that run off are toxic. They will either kill salmon or we'll eat the salmon and they'll kill us.
Next, please. Please be respectful of others, please, and hold your applause until you get home. We want to create a safe environment for everyone of all opinions, so please don't make it uncomfortable for others. Just be respectful. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shelley Gertson. I live at 161 Shelley Road in Parksville. I'm here today as a resident of Parksville and also in my capacity as secretary of our local stream keepers, Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society, MIVIS for brevity. MIVIS will not provide a position to support or not support this application. It's not part of our mission. To that end, though, we would like to highlight some of the important issues the development of these lands must address. The property is located in the lower reaches of the Englishman River, so the importance of maintaining a healthy riparian buffer to sustain the 5 species of salmon and 2 species of trout that spawn, feed, and migrate through this area of the watershed cannot be overstated. The property must maintain a healthy riparian corridor, a buffer to the river allowing it to sustain natural physical processes, and must ensure water quality from the site is not harmful. The proposed change in zoning will place a variety of urban scale land densities on this site. Placing a development of this magnitude immediately adjacent to the Englishman River places a much greater potential for negative impacts to fish and fish habitat. We note that the development will avoid impacting 70 acres of the lands, which primarily lay within the 1 to 500 year floodplain. We expect that the site will experience much more severe impacts from the river in the future as climate changes brings bigger storms and wetter winters. However, the proposal contains a flood level covenant with a conditional development area in the northeast corner of the floodplain. This allows homes to be constructed in the floodplain. Any development in the floodplain will reduce the flood carrying capacity, resulting in an increase in water elevation in the river, increasing flood hazard. This could result not only in damage to other properties, which is in contravention of the city zoning bylaw, but to fish habitat through erosion of the riverbanks. Our position is that there should be absolutely no development in the floodplain. The property contains a number of wetland areas as well as depressions that can contain and control rainwater before it is slowly released to the water table. The development of this area must ensure that the rainwater shed from impervious surfaces such as roads, pathways, roofs, and driveways does not enter directly into the river, increasing flood risk up and down. Rainwater from those surfaces will also be full of contaminants, which are detrimental to a healthy river environment, fish and fish habitat. All rainwater should be held on site and allowed to enter the water table slowly. Thanks, and I'll be back for the next round.
Thank you, Shelley. Really? Thank you. Well,
My name is Barb Riordan, and my address is 863 Fisherman's Circle, Parksville, and I'm the president of the Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society. So although there has been a lot of concern expressed about protection of the floodplain, we have not addressed the concern of the area of floodwater storage located south of the floodplain and outside the floodplain protection zone. Appendix E of the Environmental Overview Assessment contains a report by Kerwood Lidl Consulting Engineers, which explains the hydrology of the property during a 500-year flood event. The drawings in the report, which have been included in district's information packages, show a meandering area of blue south of the floodplain, referred to in the report as an ineffective floodplain. And I forward you guys the drawing of that. Okay. What that means in hydrological terms is that this area is flooded by water that flows through the floodplain and then remains there. In other words, it's stored there. It's flood water storage. The ability to store flood water is important for reducing flood intensity. The fact that this property contains a large floodplain and a flood storage area demonstrates the importance of this parcel of land in attenuating floods in the Englishman River. It appears in the drawings from district that most of this flood storage area will be developed. There'll still be a wetland park that'll have some stormwater, some floodwater storage capacity, but a lot of it will be gone. Our concern is that a loss of floodwater storage will, just as with development in the floodplain, result in a reduction of the flood carrying capacity, resulting in an increase in water elevation in the river and increasing the flood hazard. This could cause damage to the riverbank and riparian areas, resulting in destruction of fish habitat. For the protection of critical fish habitat in the Englishman River, we do not support any loss of floodwater storage capacity on the property.
thank you, Barb. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Barbara Loudon. My address is 956 Shorewood Drive, Parksville. I am opposed to the rezoning amendment for 1465 Greig Road. I am the one responsible for preparing the petition. To date, I have 1,463 Parksville petition signatures.
One second. I'll stop the clock. If you continue to have applause against the instructions of the chair here, I will ask that you be removed and other people will take your chairs that I'm sure they'll be gladly appreciative of. Thank you. Carry on.
I have addresses from the Oceanside area, San Periel, Fresh Creek, Arrington, Coombs, Nanoose, Qualicum Beach, for a total of 1,589. To date, total I have 3,052 signatures. There are approximately 11,650 eligible voters in Parksville. Of those voters, 4,000 cast ballots in the October 15th election. With only a small portion of Parksville voters canvassed to date, we collected 1,463 of their signatures. By comparison, the elected councillors averaged 1,800 votes each, and the new mayor was elected with a margin of 1,470 votes. The citizens wanting to preserve this area now form a formidable voting bloc. It must be remembered that the Parksville citizens largely voted for change and sustainable development in the last election. In the mayor's inaugural speech, he said, "My priority will be to act on the issues most important to you." I therefore suggest that you've heard from a majority of the citizens of Parksville and the surrounding Oceanside area, and they have spoken, and they say no to this rezoning amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Council. My name is Heather Ranson, and I live at 1045 Forgotten Drive in San Perial. I am opposed to the rezoning of 1465 Greig Road. I put my comments together for the OCP and the zoning, but it exceeds 2 minutes, so I'll probably be back. I'll give you part one now. So what I would like to talk about tonight are 3 issues with the traffic report that was prepared by Brunt and Associates. So the report was commissioned by the district group, and there's 3 gaps that I see. The first gap that I see is that nowhere in the study did they consider the intersection of Industrial Way and Tuan. So before people leave as people leave the development and head to Highway 19, they have to cross Industrial Way. Industrial Way runs parallel to Highway 19, and it's controlled by 2 stop signs at Tuan Road. So your cars that are coming in and out, and it's estimated that that will be 6 to 9 per minute at the full build out during peak hours, are going to have to cross Industrial Way or stop, then cross Industrial Way, and then stop again at the traffic lights. I'll explain why the Tuan Road Resort Drive area is problematic in a minute. I just wanted to focus on Industrial Way at this point. Industrial Way is supposed to have bike lanes put in. The Director of Operations was talking about that last week. So between pedestrians trying to enter and leave the site, cyclists trying to enter, leave the site, and make their way down Industrial Way, and traffic coming in and out of the site, it's going to be a problem. One last thing that I'll mention about Tuan Road at this intersection is that drivers have to make a jog onto Tuan Road. So as they're leaving the site, they have to go north about 8 or 10 feet, and then they're back on Tuan again. It's not aligned. Thank you for the opportunity to make this point.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Moorman, and I live at 808 Mariner Way, Parksville, BC. My reason for opposition is due to the inadequate and non-sustainable water supply for the current city of Parksville population and the future development, which includes 1465 Greig Road. Be smart, undertake a new OCP and study the hydrology of the English River, storage capacity of the dam, and sustainability of the wells, all with consideration for climate change. Existing studies are outdated and do not reflect the past 22 years of actual history and the changing climate and future water supplies. In 2017, an ad hoc committee of concerned Parksville residents questioned the city council on upland water storage. They noted the new water treatment plant at cost of $34.5 million did not include the addition of a single drop of new water into a system that has been taxed to its limit each year. The article continues with the following: there is no provision in the plan to add any sources of water, said Doug O'Brien, a member of the plan to add any sources of water. Sorry, a member of the ad hoc committee proposing an updated reservoir storage system that would allow winter stormwater overflow to be collected and stored for gravity feed distribution during the summer. This is in the Parksville Qualicum News, October 12, 2017. This was discussed by council, but the motion to study an upland storage system was defeated 6-1. My name is Wayne Mormon, and I do not support the rezoning of 1465 Greig Road. Water supply is uncertain and may get worse. You have no data from the province, or you have no idea from what the province will require for river flows and new licenses. Climate change has affected our weather and the supply of sustainable surface and groundwater. We desperately need water to survive, and so do the fish and the environment. Don't approve this rezoning. Our crisis now is climate change. As the 1965 song by Barry McGuire during the Cold War Cuban Missile Crisis era said, and you tell me over and over and over again, my friend, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. No, no, you don't believe we're on the eve of destruction. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Next, please.
Mr. Mayor, the chair and councillors. First of all, I've worked on this speech for 5 weeks. It's 5.5 minutes long, and I feel very disappointed that I suddenly found out I can only speak for 2 minutes and then I have to come back. Everything I say in here is relevant. If I have to come back, I will, but I would have preferred not to, or at least to have known in advance.
First, I need your name and address, please.
It's Elaine Lefebvre, 284 Chestnut Street, Parksville.
Thank you, Elaine. You have to abide by the rules as everyone else. You can come back and finish off your speech.
All right, then. Mr. Mayor and councillors, I'm here this evening because of my concern about the proposed rezoning of Greig Road. This bylaw amendment would allow the developer's initial plan of 100 townhouses piecemeal to 800 townhouses near the Englishman River at the bottom of Greig Road. In so doing, this would destroy one of the few urban forest areas left in Parksville that has not only trees, but wetlands. Over the last few years, we have witnessed the loss of a number of forested areas in Parksville. For example, the forest on Temple Street is gone. The forest on East Despard Avenue is gone. All the shade trees on South Molliette are gone. And many of us had to fight to keep the forest intact near the Parksville wetlands. The Greig Road area is of particular importance as it supports a variety of wildlife, and it is an important wildlife corridor. Putting roads and a new development into this area would cause significant hardship to the wild species that live and hunt down there, as they have no place else to go. And I guess I have to come back for the rest of it.
We'll be here. Thank you. Next, please.
Mayor and council, my name is Switzy DeWitt, and I live in Qualicum, 760 Berwick Road South. I'd like to put a different perspective on what we've been hearing, and that is we need housing. Of course, there's always a challenge as to where that should be. I'd like to encourage council to keep looking at it and to keep working forward on trying to come up with an amicable solution that could satisfy all rather than just discarding this opportunity. You got to remember that owners of property give opportunities to communities. Generally, communities do not out of themselves create it. So we need to respect that aspect of free enterprise and also the goodwill of this community. So I'd like to encourage council to find ways to massage, find out how to address some of the concerns, but do not just throw it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Switzy. Next, please.
My name is Joanne Kelly and I live at 444 Craig Street, Parksville. I've lived in this area for 35 years and in Parksville for about 25. I am most strongly opposed to the rezoning of 1465 Greig Road. I understand the need for more housing, but this is definitely the wrong place, as it is too far from all amenities for people to walk. So everyone will have to drive. 2 cars per home gives us 1,600 vehicles on our small roads in this area, and it is not feasible without a great deal of taxpayers' money being spent to upgrade and appropriate the appropriate infrastructure. And I, for one, want my tax dollars to be spent elsewhere. Downtown is the right place for this development, not Greig Road. Greig Road is a beautiful place, and without it, I personally would probably become agoraphobic, as I suffer from depression. But with help of my medication, I generally leave my home once a day to walk on the trails, looking for wildlife and admiring our lovely, clean Englishman River, seeing friends and their 4-legged companions. We need to protect this sanctuary, this fabulous piece of property for the mental health of the public who suffer in silence all around us daily. We need somewhere where we can feel free from the everyday stresses of modern society, somewhere we can escape our problems and absorb the true beauty of this amazing place that we live in. I am very concerned about the possibility of contamination to our water supply if this development goes forward. With so many people living so close to our river, the chances grow exponentially. And if we have more years like, or worse than 2022, for example, with global warming continuing to change the weather patterns worldwide, who can say there will be sufficient water for the people who already live in this area? Never mind a possible 3,200 others. I was under the impression that the duly elected council was here to represent the people of this wonderful city, not off-island developers, who will not have to deal with any possible problems that do arise. So I, as a taxpayer and voter, am speaking out against this preposterous idea: develop a prime river ecosystem, floodplain and wetlands that need to be protected for the future, for this town, our children and grandchildren. Environmental conservation is the only way to go. Thank you.
Next, please.
Al Pastors, 211 Lodgepole Drive, Parksville. This 800-unit enclave where everybody will need a car to buy groceries or a beer is so wrong on so many levels. A long walk to the stores. Where are the sidewalks? Highways? A substantial drive to stores or restaurants. More pollution to breathe in. Enclave entrance, misaligned intersection. Need another traffic light? An old narrow bridge combined with another misaligned intersection. San Periel Resorts. Another misaligned at Martindale on the one road into town. More overland pollution into the river. Not so great for the fish population. Summer resort traffic to be combined with the new traffic from the enclave. Gridlock, anyone? 1,600 additional flushes a day on a water system already stressed. Any water behind the Aerosmith Dam? Population increase results in reduced subsidy for policing. And will more policing be needed? We can foresee a cry for a secondary fire hall. More cost. Consider global warming, environmental impact, loss of our small city standing by bringing in this unbridled and uncalled for expansion, and finally, a loss of quality of life in our city. I heard that public hearings are just a formality according to a previous mayor and a previous councillor. So I'm formally telling you that if you approve this rezoning for this project, you folks are toast next election. You'll be a one-term council. We will not forget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Hi there.
Thank you.
I'm
Hi.
Linda Harbo. I live at 780 Terrian Way. I also have a business in the downtown core. Today, I just wanted to talk to you about the OCP. It is 10 years old and outdated, and it does need a review. The last review was in 2013. I think it's imperative for our city council to bring it up to date, to include the extreme weather patterns that we are seeing all over locally and all over the world. Also, the OCP has a whole chapter on sustainability. That's chapter 3 for our community's future. How do the developers' plans align with sustainability, you might ask? Well, in my opinion, they don't for these reasons. First, promoting green builds. The district group seems to exclude the elements of green design. First of all, the neighborhood is 3.5 kilometers away from the closest grocery store, and it's not walkable to city core. I don't see any biking paths or charging stations, and everybody will have to drive to everywhere where they want to go. Have you seen what a 100-unit apartment looks like? Try to imagine 7 more 100 units along the Englishman River. By paving over permeable ground, it will increase the flooding runoffs to the river and to our existing neighbors adjacent to the river who already experience flooding issues. This is not what the OCP envisioned when it promoted green. Secondly, increasing environmental protection. At least 1/3 of this property is floodplains. It's a wildlife corridor. This will only fragment our wildlife, and they'll be struggling to access food, water, shelter, and have adequate breeding sites. Finally, habitat enhancement. Blue listed species like the red-legged frog and the rough-skinned newts have been found on these wetlands and have been documented in the EDI report. In addition, this property has a second growth of protected coastal Douglas firs and various tree canopies. The OCP also references the importance of the Englishman River as our drinking water and our recreational space, and it refers to it as a treasured natural feature. By adding 1,500 people walking on worn riverbanks of what the biologists call a broken river will no doubt cause further erosion and put our water, salmon, and steelhead trout at risk. We cannot sacrifice protected species for housing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Good evening, Chair and Council. My comments address both amendments. My name is Pam Stockton and I reside at 1559 Terrian Road on Craig Bay on the Neuse border of Parksville. I am opposed to the rezoning and I would like to direct my comments to the importance of containing urban sprawl. Parksville's official community plan, or OCP, strongly references containing urban sprawl, maintaining rural integrity, and keeping the city core revitalized. The OCP takes pride in Parksville's small town appeal and strongly endorses new development in the downtown core. We are seeing builds in the downtown core, and these are welcome, but building 800 units at 1465 Greig Road does not align with the values in the community plan. The OCP boldly states that the Englishman River is highly valued. So my question is how council can consider that rezoning for a mega development outside the downtown core will improve, recover, or even sustain our river, wetlands, or floodplains for the future. Please consider how this rezoning application does not align with the values stated in the OCP. If you don't rezone, this may allow potential partnerships with environmental groups to try to purchase this land for preservation and protection of this sensitive ecosystem. Biodiversity, sustainability, preservation, and city core revitalization are claimed to be highly valued in the OCP. So with all the research and work that went into creating our official community plan, my hope is that City Council will follow its guiding principles for all rezoning decisions with a clear vision for Parksville in mind. The owner and developer are not residents of Parksville, so they won't see the long-term consequences of building 800 units outside the city core. I believe it is our responsibility as a community to value our ecosystem, eco-sensitive areas, and to say no to this zoning application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Peter Simkin, 454 Harnish in Parksville.
Hello, Peter.
Chair. As a member of the Greig Greenway Society that was formed to fight these sort of inappropriate developments, my topic was going to be infrastructure, but with a 2-minute time limit, we'll just sort of scoot over with what I was going to talk about. No, it won't load. People move to Parksville with an expectation of a certain lifestyle, and infrastructure supports that lifestyle. Excuse me. The topics I was going to cover were things like transportation, which has been brought up. We need to be aware of the number of cars and how it'll affect transportation in town. Over the last few years with the developments that we've had, how many new roads do we have in Parksville? In fact, how many roads that we have existing have been updated? We need to consider, with climate change as important as it is today, bus services, walkability, bike lanes. There's a lot of people out there. And also, when it comes to the transportation idea, development in this area is going to spawn more development, more business, more people, more business, more transportation problems, more expense to the taxpayer of the city. Recreation was another issue. With the development we've had over the last 4 or 5 years, as inappropriate as the voters of Parksville have spoken, we sadly lack recreational. We've all heard of the desire for a track and field, for a pool. Now, I'll admit that previous councils have done a fair bit. We have a beautiful theater in the park now and everything else, and trails through the Despard. Good start. We need to continue. Fire, safety, medical services, all these sort of things are going to be put under increased pressure because of this development. We need, anyway, we need to be aware of this development and how it'll affect really your political futures. Thanks.
Next, please.
Hello. My name is Terry Bayanko. I moved here to Parksville. I was very fortunate, and I feel very fortunate to be living here. Along with me, my daughter and son-in-law live here. They are in their 30s. They are attracted to this area because of the fact that there are my bicycle trails, nature, and this is what is going to keep them. I have a letter that represents their opposition to the rezoning amendment for 1465 Greig Road. In my son-in-law's case, he is very, very involved with the Aerosmith Bicycle Club, and he wants to, and he sees the pathways going through into to Arrington and all of these other places, and he sees a lot of potential. And as you are aware, places like Cumberland have grown because of this kind of thing. My daughter is very surprised by the exceeding growth. She has also gotten involved with the community here. I'm also presenting a letter that Jody Bergeron has given me, and she has written several items involving environmental assessment, surrounding land, a corridor for wildlife and everything. For my part, I wanted to give you some insight. If it wasn't for the vision of some landscapers and people in, there wouldn't be Central Park. If it wasn't for the vision of folks in Vancouver, there wouldn't be Stanley Park. All of these are revered places. If it wasn't for the vision in Ottawa of having something called a green belt that was thought of in 1956, there wouldn't be a green belt with something called the Bruce Pit, where is a very sacrosanct area for people to walk their dogs, to be in nature. And those are going to be places that will not be lost. I ask you folks to think of the vision for the future of Parksville and the youth of Parksville. Developments come and go. The nature stays here for centuries. Thank you.
And you may leave those letters with the corporate officer if you wish. Yes. Okay. I'll call a recess at this time. Open the door a little bit here, but it's kind of blowing things around because we recognize it's a little warm. So bear with us. Okay, so let's pick it up where we left off. If we could with the next speaker, please, with your name and address. Thank you, sir.
My name is Don Standing, 713 Foxtail, Parksville. I understand that council has legal responsibilities and that you have fiscal responsibilities, but I would suggest to you that you have moral responsibilities as well. And I would suggest that those responsibilities outweigh the other two. I would suggest to you that this decision represents or will show us how seriously you take your moral responsibilities. One choice leads to lining the pockets of a few. The other leads to putting hope and health in the hearts of thousands. It seems a simple choice to me.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. My name is Sherry Gantz. Can everyone hear me? Good. I got lots to say. I live at 201 Moss Avenue, Parksville, and I am a member of the Greig Greenway Society, and I am vehemently, strongly opposed to this ridiculous zoning change for the following reasons. The amount of building going on in Parksville over the last year or so is staggering. The drain on the current infrastructure system by the influx of more residents, along with the arrival of tourists causing our population to triple, is obvious by the stage 4 water restrictions at the end of October 2022. The number one issue for this region is our fragile water supply, and I cannot emphasize this enough. We do not have enough water. I moved to Parksville in 2009, and there has not been one summer in 14 years where water has not been a major problem. Our sewer treatment plant is at capacity, which is evident by driving through the area on a warm day. The traffic situation around the area of 1465 Greig Road is beyond bad already in the summer. Adding 1,600 more people to that area is ludicrous. What about the healthcare crisis? How long? Do we have an ambulance yet? Need I say more? We have no doctors taking patients or a close hospital. There is no viable transit option here, and residents would have to drive to town to shop, eat out, etc. We are supposed to be doing green things now. We are supposed to be becoming less reliant on gas-powered vehicles. This does not make that an option. There are very few livable wage jobs here, and none of these units will be affordable. I'd like to remind you we have an affordable housing crisis. Currently, there are 80 development permits before council. The units that are already being built will bring an additional 1,000 people to the area, with none of these infrastructure concerns being addressed yet. 1465 Greig Road is an area of peace. It's an ecologically sensitive area that's a floodplain, a wetland, and a crucial wildlife corridor. Plus, our main source of water runs through it. This is a salmon-bearing river that had no fish this past year. Like it or not, climate change is here to stay. We have to be stewards of our environmental assets, and the Englishman River is our most important one.
Thank you, Sherry.
I'll be back.
Mr. Chair and others, my name is Jill Davies, 91600 Bryn Mawr Road, Nuneath Bay, V1991. I am opposed to the Greig Road development, and I'm speaking to both the amendments, both proposed amendments, and I support many of the other speakers. These amendments that will not only impact Parksville, but also the many associated small neighborhood communities. This is an outrageously inappropriate plan that, in the face of climate change with us now, will further disturb and undermine our precious existing forest vegetation and wetlands. Whatever promises may have been made or might be made in the future by developers and I often see we will do this for that in development plans. I see them that they would only be manipulators designed to enable them to get what they want, namely profit, whatever the costs to our environment. At what point do we have the courage to stand up and say enough? I repeat, I'm opposed to the Greig Road development, the proposed amendments. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Christine Mazouk, and I live at 146 Ford Avenue, downtown Parksville. I am opposed to this amendment by law. I moved to Parksville specifically because I could walk to virtually all shops and services, including the beach, from my house. The proposed Greig Road development is the very definition of ugly urban sprawl. The developer has said that it will be strictly residential and there will be no allowance for shops or services. This means that it will be 100% vehicle dependent. Residents will have no choice but to drive for their groceries, their schools, their restaurants, their coffee shops, all the things that make a vibrant, livable city. Most progressive municipalities now are developing the concept of the 15 or 20-minute neighborhood plan, whereby residents can walk to 80% of their shops and services within 15 to 20 minutes from their home. This proposed development is completely the opposite of that. And in this time of climate change and trying to lower our emissions, it seems foolhardy to add as many as 1,500 vehicles to the daily traffic patterns of Parksville. Someone once told me in an email that Parksville is at a crossroads, and we have an opportunity to be a beautiful, vibrant city that people flock to live, work, and play. Or we can choose to be the city of ugly urban sprawl, clear cuts, and fast food restaurants. Please, Mayor and Council, choose wisely, because once we pave over paradise, there's no going back.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Trevor Wicks, and I live at 639 Arbutus Street in Qualicum Beach. And I definitely oppose this large development on the sensitive lands beside the Englishman River. The Englishman River has been under extreme stress for at least 35 years, one of the most highly endangered rivers in BC as part of that time. The proposed development will need to extract even more water from the river and risk serious water contamination. Many aspects of the river and adjoining lands have not been considered in the proposal or by council. For example, San Periel water supply is downstream of this development. And you think it's not going to affect their well field at San Periel? It certainly will. Saltwater intrusion at Rathtrevor Beach Park is a serious issue, and nobody is looking at it. And it's because of declining river flows in the summertime. Recreation and fisheries impacts are obvious. Drinking water catchment areas for both the surface water supply on the Englishman River and the Despard Avenue wellfield should be defined, legally should be defined. Have never been defined. I've followed this for a long time, 40 years. There's never been a delineation of the catchment area for the water supply. It's fundamental. Risk factors that could impede both quality and quantity should be identified. That's all of the auto wreckers, all of the industry in Errington and places that project their water or in the catchment area for the wellfield, because what happens at this development is going to affect all of the water supplies throughout the area, directly or indirectly. Water sources can become unusable if any one of a number of adverse risk situations. Can I continue for a little bit?
You have 10 seconds, sir.
Okay. The current water supply system does not have the resilience to contend with major emergencies like interface fire, climate change, earthquake, chemical spill, electric power grid failure. The reality of the Arrowsmith Lake Dam being emptied, the river has been flowing below the DFO limits, and the wellfield catchment area contains high levels of contamination risk.
Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Can I start? Good evening. My name is Janie Starr and I live in Unit 5 at 410 Harnish Avenue in Parksville. I'm opposed to the zoning change and OCP amendment for the property at 1465 Greig Road. I'm not against all new development, but I believe it must be targeted to meet specific needs of our community, such as housing for those working in jobs which are needed here, but which don't pay salaries sufficient to afford what is currently available. I support a modest, carefully considered densification of our city core to complete any missing housing, service, and business elements needed for a healthy, sustainable, and green community. I don't support development by an international company which encourages an influx of new residents to live in an area isolated from the downtown core. This creates additional pressure on our environment and infrastructure. How does this benefit our community? It's often heard you can't stop people from moving here. No, you can't, but it doesn't mean that Parksville is obliged to provide new housing developments for them. People move away, downsize, and die, and their housing becomes available. It's a rare privilege to dwell in close proximity to the Salish Sea, beaches, estuaries, wetlands, forests, and mountains, as well as municipal, regional, and provincial parks. And let's not forget that we live in the UNESCO Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Reserve.
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Pat Jacobson, 225 Crescent Road, West Qualicum Beach, but I'm a property owner in Parksville at 264 McVickers. Good evening. Only in the past few years has it become abundantly clear that climate change is not only an existential threat, but the impacts are being experienced right here and right now. In British Columbia, severe weather events have impacted communities across the province in different ways, with wildfires, heat domes, atmospheric rivers, flooding, and drought. Whatever long-term planning and short-term planning is in place at all levels of government needs to be redone in the context of this new reality. The present OCP for the city of Parksville is dated 2013. That's 10 years old. Is there a plan for an OCP review? The regional district regional growth strategy is in the process of being updated, but that isn't yet complete. Given the impact that current development and proposed developments like the one for 1465 Greig Road will have on our future resources, I don't understand how there is justification to approve this rezoning. Our essential local and regional infrastructure, including water, sewage, roads, medical, fire, and police services, are all under stress for a myriad of reasons. And what are the ecological, economic, and social impacts of this growth? Sustainable development must meet the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. I respectfully recommend that this rezoning amendment for 1465 Greig Road be denied until such time as the city can put forth a long-term plan that has the participation and the buy-in of all the stakeholders in the city and in the region. Thank you.
Next, please.
Mayor, councillors. My name is Nancy Klinger. I live at 1412 Sydney Place, Parksville. I'm opposed to the rezoning application of Greig Road. We came out here 12 years ago because of the woods, the beautiful woods, the water, etc., and the small town feeling, all of which is slowly eroding over time. And I have sent a letter, a 2-page epistle to you this weekend. So I'm not going to go through everything that everybody else has already mentioned, but that's in my epistle for you. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Finley Franks. I live at 50 Magnolia Drive here in Parksville. And I believe that if this development were to go through, it would be a disaster, not only for the community, but also for what little green spaces we have left in this beautiful town. I'm very proud to call this town my home, as I've grown up here my entire life. So I do credit a lot of the builders and the developers of this local area to help build our town into what it is today. But I also understand and have witnessed this town's population grow. And as it grows, we're going to lose green spaces. That's going to happen, and that's okay. But it's got to the point now where there are barely any green spaces left. And I'm strongly against this because it has the Englishman River right alongside where this development's being proposed. And all of the forests around the Englishman River are also very sacred. For the people of this town, I can say it's gotten extremely hard to find a quiet place that you can go and walk your four-legged friend. And it's the exact same thing for the animals in this area and the insects. My partner and I walk through here all the time with our dog, and it's a magical place to still find a quiet, peaceful walk. This river and its green space provides a lot for this town already. And with droughts more and more frequent, our watershed diminishing year by year, and not to mention the yearly flooding of Martindale Road, I don't think this is a good idea. When will developers realize that enough is enough and that maximizing housing density for profits shouldn't always be their main concern? And occasionally listen to the public. We come up here, we give our feedback, and we give our time up as well. And I believe that this is something worth standing for. So fellow developers and councillors, please hear me out and consider a development elsewhere in this town. It would show that you uphold the respect of the elders in this town, as well as me and our future generations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Chair, councillors, good evening. My name's Ian Donaldson, 901 Shorewood Drive, Parksville. And I'm here speaking on behalf of the Shorewood Samperial Owners and Residents Association, as well as myself. And SPORA, we're called. And SPORA opposes this development application, and I'll give you 2 reasons tonight. First, we have a continuing unacceptable situation with the intersection of Plummer Road and the Island Highway. It's the only access and egress to the subdivision of about 350 homes. Since 2016, SPORA has been advocating to the Regional District, City of Parksville, Ministry of Transportation to address the community's concerns about the unacceptable hazards at this intersection. We're informed that MODI has us in their priority list, but it's going to be at least several years before anything gets done. The ongoing problems at this junction are exacerbated by continuing development already in the industrial park, the resort row, and miscellaneous adjoining areas, as you heard tonight, with badly aligned entrances to the highway. As anyone who has experienced this intersection is aware, particularly in the summertime, access is a constant, unsafe, and daunting challenge. The added traffic of 800 homes will only worsen an already precarious situation. Second concern is our water supply. 40,000 people live in the Arrowsmith watershed, and we all depend on this water. Our Samperial water system, operated by the RDN, is fed by 2 relatively shallow wells just off Plummer Road, as somebody else described, a few hundred feet from the Englishman River. And water from the Arrowsmith Dam is usually fed into the Englishman River through one of two standpipes controlled by the city of Parksville, who is responsible to maintain a flow of at least 1.6 cubic meters per second under the Orange Bridge. Many times in the last several years, it hasn't been possible to maintain that flow with water from the dam. Last year, the water dropped below the standpipe altogether, and the water fell to 1 meter to 0.6 meters all the way from August right through to October. Went to stage 4 in October, an unusual event for that time of the year. And here we are, mid-February, the dam is still not full, and we're still 10 meters below the spillway.
Thank you, sir.
I'd say
Thank you.
that the water system is just about tapped out. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please. And for anybody in the very back, there is 5 chairs vacant in the front row. If you standing and you want to take a load off, 5 seats available in the front row. Going. Thank you. Welcome.
My name is Nicole Nemeth. I live at 594 Wayne Road. If anyone is not aware of where that is right on the river. This development is right across from our property. Our house is about 20 feet from the bank of the river. I've been there for a year and a half, and I watched that river rise and lower day and night, every day. I've seen the power of that river, the trees that come down that river, sheds, everything you can imagine. There's no way to contain that river. So what happens when you backfill a floodplain? What happens if you put a big handful of mud or dirt in your water or anything? It's going to overflow. I'm really concerned about this development and what it's going to happen. There are all these other reasons, of course, that are really important as well, but what it comes down to is what might happen in the future of this, the river overflowing, the bank collapsing. I've seen it happen in the estuary. Every year, it takes another piece off. And I'm really concerned about it. I'm not gonna, that's just my bottom line. I have nothing else to say.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hillary Bray, 461 Aurora Street, Parksville. I'm opposed to the rezoning application of 1465 Greig Road. Our OCP needs to be updated in a considered and thoughtful manner. Our OCP should not be changed in a piecemeal, ad hoc manner under the pressure from private developers. The long wait for an ambulance tonight has highlighted the crisis in our healthcare system. We need to proceed thoughtfully, ensuring we have enough health infrastructure to serve our current population before a big increase in population.
Thank you. Next, please.
Great. Rhonda Murdoch, 215 Chestnut Street, Parksville. Resident for 40 years, concerned about the water source of the Englishman River. Opposed to all amendments and zoning changes. For more than a century, due to the ENN land grant, there has been extensive human disturbance within the watershed already. And now we see how fragile our water supply is, as evidenced by last summer's extreme low flow and dry reservoir. Parksville's water supply is under pressure to supply water to both Parksville and now Nanoose, sharing our limited portion of the ERWS water supply. The amendments create many more water users, remove 40 acres of forest vegetation at a time when there will be more extreme climate events, more extreme droughts, hotter summers than we are getting now. In today's changing climate, land use decisions must take into account future negative impacts of climate change on the river. We can't just manage for the extremes of today, but also must manage for the extremes of tomorrow. It would add extra pressure on the trail surface, more fragmented habitats, negative impacts on birds through that wildlife corridor. Citizens have succeeded to save green spaces that special interests wanted paved over with housing. If it were not for the good people volunteering their time and energy, standing up for the public good and public values, our amazing places like Milner Gardens, Heritage Forest, Englishman River Estuary would be subdivisions. And isn't it alarming to know that Parksville wetlands came close to being paved over? If not for the efforts of caring citizens that finally led up to Parksville Mayor Mark Lefebvre and Council taking action to protect our life-giving, important resource.
Thank you, Rhonda.
Well, I oppose.
You can come back. Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Robert Bush and I live at 957 Shorewood. And I've been a homeowner near the Englishman River since 2004 and pass along the river daily. I've already heard the arguments as you have on our water supply. So that was one of my major two concerns. The second concern is the Englishman watershed itself and the negative impact this development would have on the river, with a major portion of the development being a mere 30 meters or so from the riverbank. So I am opposed to the development. There's been much public interest over the years in protecting the Englishman River, and it has been seen as a top priority for habitat restoration and enhancement. So to give you some history, in 1996, the river and estuary became part of the United Nations Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere Reserve. By the early 2000s, the river was recognized as one of the most significant salmon-bearing streams on the Central East Coast. In 2000, the BC government designated the river as a sensitive stream under the Fish Protection Act. And in 2001, it was recognized as the most endangered river in BC and was unique in being chosen as the first river to receive funding from the Pacific Salmon Endowment Fund, and the Englishman River Watershed Recovery Plan was then established. What is really telling for me is that for some 39 years now, the Nature Trust of BC has worked to conserve the sensitive ecological values of the Englishman River by acquiring hundreds of acres of land to protect it. So why do I raise all this now and outline the many efforts and key decisions taken to protect the Englishman watershed? Simply put, it is an irreplaceable resource, and the Greig Road presents a huge risk. So as council members, you have an opportunity here to really exercise your environmental stewardship and act in a fiduciary manner in protecting the Englishman, not only for today, but tomorrow. Please, please embrace this. I implore you not to make a mockery of all of the past efforts that have been made over the many years to protect this watershed. Thank you.
Please. Yes, sir.
David Haynes, 1571 Morella Road, Nanus. My family bought property in San Periel in 1961. I moved here in 1970. It was a wonderful forested area, and about 1973, it was designated by the province as a flood zone, and insurance was not allowed for many of the homes there. It's a real disaster area in that its potential. I've seen the water go up and over Plummer Road and flood, and I've had to drive through it when I was doing teaching, living from Maple Lane, going to Qualicum to work. Upstream from there is Martindale Road, which has an annual celebration of water, which puts many, many trailers and homes under water. The city council passed that about 1971, that they could have that there. It was a silly and stupid move. This one is equally stupid, equally silly, equally inane. Please listen to the eloquent people who have talked earlier. Look at the eloquent group of people that are here that are protesting and saying, no, this is not good enough. This is not what we want. We do not want Parksville to turn into parking lotville. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, I'll ask you to kindly refrain from clapping out of respect for everyone in the room. Thank you. Welcome.
Hi, hello, everyone. My name is Sherry Plummer, 805 Wright Road, Parksville, speaking against the Greig Road development. My family and I own 3 homes in Parksville, so we have a big stake in this outcome. And I also represent communities protecting our coast. Chair and councillors, thank you for providing this opportunity. I am unsure as to why we've come this far in a proposal when there is such strong opposition by the Parksville community members. One of the key issues among our residents has been the need to curb development. And I was personally felt assured when you, Chair O'Brien, spoke to the crowded chamber at the end of a council meeting in January. Your words, and I'm paraphrasing, are, "We, the constituents of Parksville, should be assured that the council we voted in values our natural environment, not to worry." Well, I am worried. Why? One of the developers in the presentation said that the overall proposal was net environmentally positive. He also said the outcome would be little pockets of houses among the trees. Little pockets of houses among the trees. Well, let's hope they include a house for Goldilocks and her grandmother, and one for the 3 bears. Their depiction is a fairy tale, but don't count on a happy ending. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Mayor and council. My name is Mark Cunningham. I live at 602 Martindale Road in the RDN on the river right across from the proposed property. I just wanted to let you know that I have a hard no on the proposal, and thank you very much for your time, sirs.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good evening. I'd like to acknowledge the concerned elders that have taken the time to be here this evening. My name is Christopher Bob. I'm elected council for Nanese First Nation. I reside at Stenowis Reserve. We've been a part of the restoration and enhancement of the Englishman River. You know, it's a lifeline. It's a vital lifeline. So everything from, you know, the shoreline to the mountaintop and everything in between, you know, that is, it's connected. It's one thing. The concern I see is the watershed, the water wells, and the stress that'll be put on this vital lifeline. You know, it's disturbing because we haven't had involvement. We haven't been consulted. We have no say. We don't have a voice at the table. So I'm here to share that concern on behalf of my nation and my people. We'd like to see the preservation for future generations, the use long-term for, just like I said, mentioned, how connected the salmon, and it feeds everything in the Georgia Strait. It feeds everything up Northwest Bay. It feeds my people. It sustained us for thousands of years. And for us to see, I guess, this reckless behavior over density on a lifeline, it needs to be looked at for future generations and for our grandchildren and those yet unborn. Appreciate your time.
If I could ask your name again, sir. Yeah, Christopher.
Christopher Bob, elected council for Stenowis.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Chair and Council. My name is Leanne Wallace. I reside at 2024 K Road in Anus Bay. And I respectfully acknowledge that I am speaking to you on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, specifically Stenowis First Nation. I am opposed to this bylaw, and I also need to specify that as a member of the community, I am representing my personal views, and I am referencing public documents and knowledge in my comments, and have represented consistently that the jurisdiction of 1465 Greig Road is the city of Parksville. Why I am opposed is simple. It is the wrong location. This greenfield property is zoned for low density to mitigate future risk and achieve greenfield, within the urban containment boundary of the city of Parksville, and it contributes in this way to the larger region as well. This development is outside of town, and the property was zoned in conjunction with the neighboring official community plan of the Englishman River Bylaw number 814, from which this property was annexed in 1979 by the city of Parksville. 1465 Greig Road contains important natural assets and hazards, which dictates its low-density zoning. To allow a developer to remove that asset from the area for higher density development is contrary to many best practices, and it mimics a lot of mistakes made in the past for short-term developer benefit for long-term taxpayer pain. This proposal is for another one-way in, one-way out, river corridor floodplain development far from the downtown core, where Parksville has some of the best small town assets on the island to build upon instead. Parksville also has great opportunity for infill in your downtown area, which will allow for more efficient use of tax dollars, higher value developer investments for the larger community benefit, and less costly asset management for infrastructure for the future. Thank you, and you'll see me in round 2.
Thanks, Leanne. Next, please.
Well, it's already started. My name is Tyler Cody. I live at 651 Pioneer Crescent, and I'm a little nervous. Clearly, I think we can all agree the world would be a better place without humans. Unfortunately, we're stuck with each other. I admire the passion of all here on both sides. The question is, how do you balance the needs of our climate and our community? Me and my wife went to school here. We've raised our kids here. I've started my own business in town. We employ over 150 people in the Central Island area. My wife's family also helped build Parksville. Many of you would remember Rini and Lorna Shug from the, yeah. I have a few things to say. Many of my staff, I asked them about what they thought of this development, and it was overwhelmingly in support of it. The issue is a lot of them are working, and if you look around the room tonight, you'll see there's not very many families here because they're feeding their kids tonight, and they just finished working. I support this development. I don't see why you wouldn't support this development. Did you know amongst our staff, the single most pressing issue is finding somewhere to live long-term? My wife and I actually used Greig Road with our dog Lewis when we had him. When I heard about this development, I was wholeheartedly against it because I love this land till I saw the build out. It's being built in a gravel pit with the important parts of the property being donated to Nature's Trust by a reputable BC builder, overseen by professional third-party engineers whom have all sworn oaths in their respective professions. Many of the concerns here would be addressed by disciplined professionals in their reports. Balancing the needs of the environment in our community for the greater good is what you've been charged with. I just hope you remember the voices of those who work and couldn't make it tonight. This is a good move for Parksville, and I hope you support it. Thanks for hearing me out.
Thank you, Tyler. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Carmelo, and my address is 865 Seashell Place in Parksville. I'm opposed to these applications for reasons that I already shared with council, on which many of the people that have spoken tonight have repeated. My comments tonight, I'd like to restrict to the covenant agreements that the developer is submitted to the city, respecting the 6 commitments that they committed to implementing upon approval of the applications. Commitments to avoid developing in the 1 in 500 floodplain, protecting green space, providing rental accommodation and trails, etc. I have taken the opportunity to review the covenant agreements that they provided to the city, and I find many of them questionable. For example, one of their stated commitments was to transfer to the city or a registered charity some 53 acres of the property for protection in perpetuity as green space. The agreement which they prepared does identify 53 acres of green space for transfer, but it includes several clauses that would result in the elimination of its protection. For example, one clause states that should there be a downzoning of the property for any reason at any time in the future, that would result in a reduction in the total number of residential units that can be built, a change in where any such residential units can be located, or a change in the permitted maximum density, the owner may, at its option, repurchase the transferred green space from the city for a purchase price of $1 within a 15-year period of the downsizing. Another clause states that the green space covenant area can be modified from time to time upon the owner's delivery to the city of a revised 500-year floodplain plan prepared by a certified hydrologist of their choosing. Many of the other 5 covenant agreements similarly include notwithstanding clauses that outline a range of conditions under which the commitment would not apply. From my perspective, a commitment's not a commitment if it comes with conditions that can result in reversal at a future time, and especially when those stated conditions benefit only one of the parties.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Dino Kruger. I live downstream from the Orange Bridge on the banks of the Englishman River. And I have been watching developments around not just the city of Parksville, but any other city, that the main objective is for the developers to make money. And for some strange reason I cannot explain, that city governments and developers work hand in hand together for their own benefit and not for the benefit of the general population. We as general population, we need this area. We need the continuity all the way to the mountains, and governments come and go, but the people and the nature stay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor O'Brien and Council. Talking is not very good. I have a petition. My name is Hans Hofmeyer and I live in 1387 Marina Way, in the News Bay. I have petitioned my neighborhood in the News Bay, to determine if the residents in the area are opposed to the rezoning application at 1465 Greig Road for E1 to comprehensive housing. On January 16th.
It's okay, sir. I'll give you extra time. Take your time. You're okay.
Hans has helped me with the petition. He went out in the end of Madrona and he went to 51 houses and they signed the petition. 9 houses would not sign. It has been concluded then that 85% of the houses that he was with, that he approached, were against the rezoning application. We wanted to just represent tonight that this is just a quick snapshot of how individuals feel about this development. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any more to add, Hans? Are you okay? Do you have any more to add? Okay. Thank you for your presentation. Next, please.
My name is Michael Von Hausen. I live at 12601 19A Avenue in Surrey, British Columbia, just outside White Rock. I'm the planning consultant for the applicant. I'm also a fellow of the Canadian Institute of Planners. I'm an adjunct professor at BYU in Nanaimo, and I've worked on the island for 20 years. I really appreciate all the comments this evening. What I'd like to do is present and clarify some of the information.
We believe this neighborhood is an example for others across the province and around the world that intend to create a climate resilient, sustainable, environmentally sensitive, and more affordable alternative by providing a diversity and choice of housing in pockets surrounded by nature. This is our future, balanced, sensitive, and inclusive. I didn't mention I'm a former president of the BC Society of Landscape Architects. I think it's important that we address the OCP goals. We think we've met them and exceeded them. We have an environmental first strategy. That is, the majority, if not all of the development is outside the 500-year floodplain. Planned.
Excuse me, please, no interruptions or you will be removed. Thank you.
Planned as part of a resilient community. 60% of the land, including 40%, is dedicated to environmental sensitive area. The other 20% will be pathways and parks within the development itself. The trail system will be retained and expanded by 30%. So it will not only be in place, in the right place, set back from the river by 35 meters, but it'll also be integrated as part of an environmentally responsible community.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I'll be back.
Thank you. Next, please. No comments from the audience, please. If the chair needs help, I'll ask. Thank you.
Hi.
Good evening. Hi,
Good
Janet.
evening. I'm Janet Anker. I live at 676 Turner Road, Parksville. I'm going to try to shorten this because everyone's doing a great job doing what they have to do. I'm in the opposition of this proposal to rezone the property due to multiple impacts that it will have on my area, to those who live along the river, the city of Parksville, and all the communities and peoples that rely on its services. I am concerned that again, we may be pushed through with another proposal for subdividing green areas. I helped to canvass with a city council member, possible city council member this past fall, where I heard many people express huge concerns about the rate of development taking place here, how it has altered the beauty, the concern of lack of water, and the much needed services in the community. I remind you why you are sitting here today. Sorry. Many of the values that we value the generous use of the trails that wander through the properties and the tranquility it provides. It's unconscionable that you would even consider threatening such an environmental sensitive area that also many people enjoy. Some of the concerns are OCP being outdated. Your goal was to increase the population, and that's already exceeded 10% of planned growth. And there appears to be no comprehensive building vision or logic to where development is occurring. Currently, the huge influx of over 1,000 units and more than 80 development proposals are sitting in queue. There is a need to look at the true impact of exponential pace of growth and its impacts on this community. The current OCP does not reflect, I believe, the best interests of the community. Floodplain. I just want to mention, I'm really worried about infill and changing the property. That was fast.
Thank you,
Okay.
Janet. Thank you. Next, please.
Your Honor, Counsel, first of all, thank you for listening to me. My name is Michael Stewart. I live at 1643 Stone Lake Drive in the News Bay. 50 years ago, I came over to this area with some friends, and that's when I first learned of this beautiful piece of land we're so fortunate to have. Subsequently, my wife and I brought our children here to camp in Raft Trevor, and we did that for many a year. So it was a no-brainer for us when it was time to get away from the hustle and bustle of the Lower Mainland, was to return to here just because of the pristine, beautiful places we have to walk. I oppose this development. It's going to destroy the natural beauty that we have. A facility where you can take your dog and other people that have mobility issues, we can walk there comfortably. It's a natural green space that links Raft Trevor to Top Ridge Park. Earlier today, I stopped by the building here and I dropped off some letters from myself, my wife, and 3 neighbors or 6 neighbors. That covers a lot of the details. While I was here, though, one of the things that was interesting, I talked to somebody who, contractor or whatever, and we had a little interesting discussion about, you might know of the situation across the water in Seashell, where a few years ago, a development went forward, which looked like a great idea, and these beautiful houses were developed, but somehow the engineering failed, and there's been quite a disaster for the residents of that area. And that neighborhood is now behind a fence and people are homeless and it's before the courts. So I really put to you to think about the environmental consequences and just destroying one of the most beautiful places that we have in the country or the world. Thank you.
Next, please.
Chair, councilors. My name is Warren Cooper. I live in 14 Sylvan Crescent here in Parksville. I've been a resident here for about 35 years. I've seen a lot of changes take place, particularly with respect to the development of green space in and around the community. I have to share the sentiment of a lot of people that have spoken here tonight that this is an opportunity for conservation. And this area does get a lot of recreation use, and including, as people have said, bicycling, walking to trails, dogs, and even more recently, there's a disc golf course, and a lot of communities are developing in that area too. But one of the things I wanted to speak out about was this matter of the hydrology of the watershed. When we look at that area, these wetlands are quite obviously integral with the river. This river has, over its history, migrated over this area. And may, with climate change and increased flood risk in the future, do so again. What that leads to with respect to development is that there may be a need for extra armoring, more infill to be brought in to develop, perhaps even a reduced potential to develop the full scope of what's been planned here. So, and evidence is abounding when you walk through that area. These trails, there's exposed cobble just about everywhere. So we're not talking about the long geologic past. So I think that we should anticipate in this development that there could be some significant changes throughout the course of the development to address these things. Secondly, I would say that when we talk about a 500-year flood event, there's extremely high uncertainty and error bars around making those kinds of predictions.
Thank you, sir.
So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi there. My name is Cindy Celeste. I live at 784 Tarian Way in Saint-Perel. Of course, having moved here 2 years ago, I'm concerned about everything that's been spoken about here tonight. I'm worried about my water supply in my home. I'm worried about being able to safely exit from my neighborhood. I'm worried about the environmental impacts and flooding of this subdivision. But most of all, today, I'm concerned about the integrity of our local government system. I personally I retired here after 10 years in local government, and I think it's imperative that our local governments abide by their stated procedures and policies. And I just wanted to point out that on page 4 of your OCP, it says that over the life of an OCP, it can be expected that there may be amendments, either to correct errors or to reflect policy changes. I'm not sure I can understand what error has been made or what policy you're changing by updating this OCP to allow this development. I also want to say that we were asked to come here tonight to talk about the impacts on ourselves personally as members of the public that are impacted by this. I don't understand why the previous speaker, who is a planner for the developer, was allowed to speak. He's not a member of the public. He's not speaking personally about how he's impacted. And in addition, he's desiring to give additional information. All of those things are contrary to the purpose of this public hearing.
Thank you for your comments. We'll carry on. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'd like to finish a speech for Jamie Starr as her friend got taken away by ambulance.
Okay, thank you. Absolutely.
So my name is Trudy Thomas, and I worked on the Greig Greenway Society, and I got like 5 pages of signatures and helping promote to make this a safer place for everybody. So reading Jamie's notes here, she read some, but she didn't get a chance to finish. She said there's an Ipsos Reid survey conducted for Parksville in 2012 stated that citizens want the city of Parksville to be a leader in environmental protection and watershed protection, top the citizens list of environmental priorities. Also, Parksville is in the UNESCO Mount Arrowsmith Biosphere region, which received this designation in part because of its home to 5 watersheds, including the Englishman River. It contains distinct ecosystems located between the top of Mount Arrowsmith all the way down to the Salish Sea, a vertical range which makes it unique among Canadian biospheres. She also wrote the Local Government Climate Action Program Survey Submission Report to Parksville and completed in July 2022 lists the following climate hazards faced by our area: biodiversity loss of water shortage, biodiversity loss, water shortage, erosion, invasion species, ecosystem changes, wildfires, and overland flooding. Then she wrote, those of us who currently live here have a huge responsibility to advocate for protection of our precious environment rather than further degrade it. As our representatives, you are tasked with making crucial decisions impacting the future well-being of our community. As a longtime resident, that's Jamie, I'm only new, resident of this area, I urge you to make a wise decision by denying these applications and giving the Greig Greenway Society a chance to preserve the area for park. Thank you for Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may address the last speaker, I believe it was Celeste. Celeste, thank you. Made a comment regarding one of the speakers that made a presentation. Let me reread one of the paragraphs of the public hearing agenda. Everyone who deems their interest in property to be affected shall be given the opportunity to be heard at this meeting. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their view known. Thank you. Just to clear that up. If we have any more interruptions, you will have to leave. You're not treating the process respectfully. You're not doing yourself any favors. So please just stay respectful and respect each speaker's place to have their opportunity. Thank you. Next speaker, please. No. It was just a clarification of the rules. If you want to come up and speak again, you may. Thank you.
My name is David Ranson. I live at 1045 Forgotten Drive in San Periel, but I work in Parksville. I am opposed to the OCP amendment and the bylaw that will be later discussed. I came tonight to echo many of the sentiments that I've heard so eloquently spoken by others, but I am moved tonight to recognize that I'm fortunate to live, work, and play here on the traditional territories of the Snaw-Naas people. And the thing I am most appalled about hearing and learning this evening is that the Snaw-Naas have not been consulted or engaged in this discussion and development. For those who have been in this community for a long time or around it, you will well remember the debacle of the 1990s and Craig Bay and the development that occurred there and what happened with the discovery of the traditional sites, the burial. Have we learned nothing in these 25 years that we have not engaged nations on their territories about their future and their water and their food sources and their environment? I would ask council to deny this application for all of these very good reasons and see instead the opportunity to protect this property and to work with other partners for conservation and for preservation of recreation opportunities in Parksville in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good evening, Mayor O'Brien and councilors. I'm really nervous to be here. I'm not a professor. I'm not a business person. I'm a healthcare aide for Island Health. And I have been walking on Greig Road for 9 years with my dog off leash, and her and I have both aged together. I'm accessing most of the parks around the city, like the boardwalk is nice without the dog. Rath Trevor is nice because you can go there without friends. I mean, without dogs, but be with friends. But Greig Road is special because you can go off leash. And during the time of COVID, I found a lot of people enjoying it. Families, seniors alike, even with their walkers. It's very flat and it's a beautiful place. One thing I've noticed, the nature is amazing. I just saw a barred owl in there a couple of days ago. We have the indigenous red squirrel still there that has disappeared from my street, which I live at 611 Pioneer Crescent. Sorry, forgot to say that. When I moved here 9 years ago, we did have indigenous red squirrels in the city right on Pioneer Crescent. Now the invasive black squirrel and gray squirrel has killed them off and taken over. But on Greig Road, we still have the indigenous red squirrels there. I've seen many bald eagles, many various birds and wildflowers and bears, awesome bears that have been really cool to see. I don't know what else to say, but that I've really enjoyed it for 9 years, and I'm going to be really sad to see this get developed. And I'm really concerned about climate change and the future of the city of Parksville, and that we need more places to play. And we can't forget about balance. We need places to live, we need places to work, and we need places to play.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is James Lee. I live at 1128 Quebec Street in Vancouver. I'm a senior transportation engineer with Bunton Associates Engineering, and we perform the traffic impact assessment for the study. Excuse me. So I'd like to add first that while I do live in Vancouver now, I do want to make a point that I grew up in Parksville in the San Periel area. So I'm actually very familiar with both the transportation network in this area, and I am passionate and do care very much about this area because my parents still live here and I'm staying with them this weekend. So acknowledging the concern that I've heard tonight about traffic regarding this project, I just wanted to provide some points of clarification about the traffic analysis that was done for this project. So to start, I just want to share with everyone today that a comprehensive transportation impact assessment study was conducted for this study, acknowledging the concern over traffic. In these studies, we collect existing traffic data, and then we forecast the future traffic volumes that we project are going to be created by this development. And we look at the traffic operations at the key study intersections in terms of delay, volume to capacity, and vehicle queuing. And the terms of this study were actually confirmed and consulted with both the Ministry of Transportation as well as the City of Parksville. Well, it's too short to get into all the details of the study. I do want to say that the key takeaway is that overall, the study intersections within this study were considered to be within the acceptable performance thresholds that our industry goes by. The one location that was shown that it could benefit from some improvement was the Tuan Road and Highway 19A intersection, which everyone is aware of. And upon Bunt's recommendation, the applicant will be improving that intersection, consolidating it with Tuan Road, Resort Drive, and Highway 19A to create a safer, less hazardous, consolidated signalized intersection. So overall, I just want to share with the group and acknowledge some of the concerns. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Adam Compton. I live at 5150 Owlstone Place in Nanaimo. I'm a registered professional biologist with EDI. I've been the project manager for EDI's environmental assessment work for district during this rezoning process. I'd like to say a few words about our findings and conclusions. So the site was assessed by biologists at the company I used to work for in 2005. It was assessed again by two different biologists in 2017. And more recently in 2021 and 2022, it was assessed by another two biologists, including myself. So each time getting more information about the site, including, for example, verification that there are no fish in the wetland areas. The results of the assessments were pretty much the same. There are indeed highly important and sensitive ecological features on and beside the property. These include Englishman River, its riparian area, the active floodplain, and several wetland features throughout the property and their associated riparian areas. So protecting these features maintains habitat important for species such as salmon, amphibians, waterfowl, and other wildlife, and it ensures wildlife corridors are maintained. So all of these important and sensitive features are being excluded by the planned development site. The remainder of the site, where development is planned, consists of historically disturbed areas and young forest, with a sliver of older forest along the southern boundary beside the railway. So while the development areas undoubtedly have some ecological value, as discussed here by several people tonight, they are not considered rare or of significant importance to rare species. And because of their age, these forests are not considered rare ecosystems. Overall, it's our opinion that the planned development provides a good balance with regard to conservation of the important habitats. And with best practices exercised during construction and through future detailed planning and design, it's our opinion that the development is not likely to significantly impact the important and sensitive features that have been identified on the property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Good evening, Chair and councilors. I have met some of you. I'm Bill Neufeld. I was a councilor a few years ago on a term a while back. I've met Sean and Joel and also Mary Beal, and I actually thank them for responding to the letter that I have in front of me. The letter is something that I'm sure all of you have received, and I have expressed great concern about this development. And I only want to highlight a couple of things, mainly that in Europe, and I recognize we are a different jurisdiction, clear cutting, destroying of wetlands, cutting of forests to the side of the creeks and rivers is not permitted. And yet here in North America and other jurisdictions, in Parksville in particular, we cut to the creek edge. We bury our streams. We wind up doing things that in fact are extremely dysfunctional to the overall environment of the city. Have a tremendous impact on the community, the quality of life, and the ability to in fact live here. It affects our breathing. It affects our quality of care. We have a problem very much with who we attract to the city. And they all come and say it's a wonderful place, and then find that we don't have doctors, we don't have facilities, and we don't have services. We don't have a number of things. Unfortunately, I can't go on, but in fact, I have brought a copy of the letter that I sent to you as a council, and I intend to leave a council, at least a letter, so that it in fact is a highlight that it was written and is of concern to this council.
Thank you, Bill. You can leave that with our corporate officers. Sure.
Okay, and
Leave right. Thank you. And next, please.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill.
Good evening, Beverly Mitchell, 1397 Cape Cod Drive.
I'm strongly opposed to the amendments for the development on Greig Road. My concerns are, some of them, I have a concern that we've maxed out our sewage system and we haven't continued to build the proper infrastructure moving forward, considering 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Also, our traffic patterns. We all enjoy this lifestyle, but it's going to get busier and harder to move around our wonderful area. Last year in the rainy season, I was speaking with another resident who was in the application process to do a rainwater collection and storage system. And he was banging his head against the wall saying, I don't think the RDN realizes that our water is going to be the new gold moving forward. But the problem is you don't need gold to survive, but you need clean water. So please, please turn down this application. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Andrew Chupkowski. I live on 691 Woodburn Street in Parksville. And I don't have a speech. I'm speaking from the heart. First of all, Judge, Mayor, I read your interview with the newspaper, the local newspaper, and you say that you're a walker. Well, we would love to take you around these trails at Greig Road. All of you, you would love it. You come out of there and you feel fantastic because everyone you meet is happy. All the dogs are happy. And the wildlife is there, but it's all hiding. So if you know where to find it, you can go and find it. I know where it is. Last year, Fortis wanted to put a gas pipeline right through the river, right there at Greig Road. Well, I went and told my neighbor who works for the fisheries. Well, guess what? There's not going to be a pipeline. Okay. Guys, help. Come in with us on the walk. You'll love it, especially you, Mayor, if you're a walker. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the invite. Next, please.
Thank you. My name is Marcy Friedel. I live at 752 Getchin Street in Parksville. I'm standing today in support of the earlier speakers who spoke to the quantity and quality of the water in the Englishman River. Through the chair to the council, I respectfully request that you turn down the approval of any future residences in Parksville until the city is able to demonstrate to us that there is a sustainable water supply for the current residents of Parkville. Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good evening. My name is Susan Mullen. I'm at 247330 Dogwood Street in Parksville. I am here on my own. I'm not being paid by anyone. I won't gain any money or any financial benefits from my intervention. I am firmly against this proposal. I came here firmly against it, and the more I hear from people who've made interventions concerning the quality of our environment, the quality of our water supply, I think it is absolutely essential that we do not approve this proposal. I think we have to have more planning. We don't have any long-term planning for this city. We need it. We have seen destruction of forest around here. We've destroyed thousands of trees. We've clear-cut areas where no development has happened, and yet we seem to think that this is okay. We have to stop. Trees are an important part of our fight against climate change. We have to refuse to accept this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Mike Bode at 676 Turner Road in Parksville. That's the Orange Bridge area for those that don't know it. I have sent my letter to council, so most of you will have got it. Whether you read it or not, we'll find out. So I'm just going to do some of the Reader's Digest version. Development in Parksville is necessary, but council must be cautious. You are not approving developments beyond the capacity of the city infrastructure to service them. I would like council to take a hard look at the overdevelopment of Parksville in general, and specifically the proposed development at 1465 Greig Road. I then go on to point out all of the things that people have brought up, the infrastructure, the lack of doctors, and different things like that. So I'm going to jump ahead to now is the time for this council to reflect on why the citizens of Parksville made the choice to replace all but one councillor and the mayor in the most recent municipal election. Time to look at what the citizens of Parksville had to say during the OCP consultation process about what they liked about Parksville and what they wanted to see the future of Parksville to look like. Time to see the vision of Parksville is driven by the residents and not people wanting to take what they can back to where they live with little regards for what they leave us. Time to ask what the consequences of our decisions are given the seemingly rapid onset of climate change. There is now evidence that points to what was once a 1 in 1,000 year extreme weather event is now in a 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 year event. These events will bring more frequent and more severe droughts and flood events to our doorsteps. Will your decisions put homes in danger of being flooded out? Will your decisions cause more water shortages for us and the fish and wildlife who are so blessed to share the areas with us? Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Next, please.
Good evening. My name is Katrin Roth. I live at 804 Shorewood Drive in Parksville. I'm quite upset, so I'm not sure how this is going to go. The first thing I want to say is that what the developer submitted in terms of data is based on a service population at the proposed development of 1,327 people. That means that in each of these 800 units, no more than 1.6 persons can live. So I'm not sure how you're going to enforce that. Secondly, so even if there's only 2 people living there, the capacities for water demand, fire flow, sewer traffic, etc., would already be no longer met. I also wanted to say I will be impacted by the increased flooding because the city, if the city were to permit 92 acres of permeable ground, water dispersion areas, wetlands, and forest to be sealed. And many other points have already been raised, but what I wanted to say specifically to you, Chair and Council, this public meeting has been rescheduled 3 times, every time to accommodate the developer. And it is shocking to me that the chair of a small municipal council does not know how to interpret the law, including its own rules as to who can speak at a public meeting. Representatives of the applicant for these developments for these bylaw amendments are not members of the public. Their interests are not impacted. They are the applicant. They are the ones having set all this in motion. And I'm also going to tell you that there are enough people here that should this council not, including you, not live up to its responsibility and act in the interest of the public, I believe there are enough people here that will make sure that you do, whether that is through an application to the minister for an override of what you have to say, yes, I still have a second, or through the courts. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Are there any more?
But the first time speakers, yes. Are you in the second time speakers now? Thank you, sir.
The
Yeah, but is there any more speakers who want to speak for the first time under the 2-minute rule? First time speakers. Yes, sir.
My address is 625 Martindale Road. Obviously directly affected by this development proposal and the rezoning applications. I went around my neighborhood and I spoke with 90% of my neighbors. The rest were not home. 100% of the people that I spoke with were fully against this development and the rezoning of the property. We've all lived in this area for a very long time. And to put a development like this on the forefront of a river's edge. I also worked in BC Parks, that the sheer foot traffic coming from this 2,000 plus permanent population would strip the land right up to the river's edge. I highly doubt that there could be any barrier put in place that the people would not filter around, crush the habitat, therefore causing erosion. And not to mention a 10-year long development, all the noises, driving away all the animals in the habitat, the runoff. I've got more time.
2-minute rule.
Great. Not to mention the flooding issues that have taken place on Martindale Road. I've lived there for 43 years and I've watched Perry's RV Park, now renamed, try to barrier off the water, but for some reason, the city of Parksville granted them the right to put in high voltage transformers and electricity to each one of those sites. How they managed to get that within a flood zone is beyond me. There's been other sites that have been developed, not to mention the pipeline that was put along the railway property. Kerwood Lytle also did the surveying for that project, but now there's people without water along our road that have to truck water in. Some people resulted with higher flood rates. Their comments, which I had extensive contact with them along the way, said that you cannot put a development in like this without there being environmental impacts.
Thank you, sir. And you mentioned you were on Martindale, but I didn't catch your name.
625 Martindale Road. My name is Jason Hagstrom.
Thanks, Jason.
Like I say, 90% of the people also felt the same way. Please look for our letters that we have all written in as immediate affected people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, please. Is there any more coming under the 2-minute rule? Is this your first time? There you go. Thank you.
My name is Jan Ryanson and I live at 1399 Gabriola Drive. And I agree with all these things that have been said tonight, and I totally am against this development. But what I wanted to say was, when I first moved to Parksville 14 years ago, one of the first things I noticed was that in the obituaries, everybody was 102 and 104 and 105 years old. And I thought, wow, what is it about this place coming from Saskatchewan? I then soon realized it was the geography, all the water, which is a carbon sink, the trees, all the trees give off oxygen, suck in carbon dioxide. They're the lungs of the area. And so I'm totally against anything that's cutting down all these trees. And it's been happening all over the city. And right across from Greig Bay, where I live, there's a whole big, huge lot that just got cleared out. Nobody seems to know why. I've asked many questions and nobody seems to have an answer. So anyway, I'm against the development, but that's the main reason that I just feel it's a healthy place to live. And the more trees we cut down and damage the waterways, that will just go downhill. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more for the 2-minute rule? First time speakers, please.
My name is Laura Tomlin. I live at 673 Pioneer Crescent. I oppose the development for fear of our lack of infrastructure, and perfect example of poor city planning would be the Wendy's that was put in front on the highway. Not just Wendy's, but because they had 4 lots there, they were allowed to have 4 businesses, which in return, they allowed
parking for just the 4 businesses, stuff.
If we could keep your comments to
Stop.
the development at
Okay.
hand here, please.
So I would like to see official city planning to be renewed so that plans like this do not happen to our city, so that we do have proper trees to soak up all of this exhaust and pollution that we will be subjected to with these plannings. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any more first-time speakers? First-time speakers? Yes, sir. Come on up. You have 2 minutes, sir. Your name and address, please.
Hi, Eamon Stinson. I live at 1745 Pratt Road. That's in Coombs. So I'm also not a resident of Parksville, like the few people that came in. But in Coombs, we see a lot of what you end up seeing the result of. So downstream, I live on the French Creek, live beside the Englishman River. I see the industrial loggers up there. I see what they do on Arrington Ridge. They're cutting and cutting, and people say it's for infrastructure. We can build more things. I get that. I like wood too. This is really beautiful. Nice little setup here, but the trees are really important for a lot of people. It sounds like a lot of people are talking about trees. They're talking about water. And I didn't plan on speaking, but again, like the other fellow, kind of feel compelled sometimes. And the idea that I see with water on the creek, which is very similar to what I see at Friend's Place, who live along the Englishman River up in Arrington and Coombs, is the immense power of it. And it's not so much that water in itself has power, it's the slope, just something similar, just a little slope gives it power. And all that water rushing downhill after being flushed off of cut block after cut block is coming down to all of you here. And it's coming across the river and it's going out to the ocean. So it's an immense power. And there's a lot of activity that's happening where we live that also affects water clarity. It affects intrusion of water. It affects watershed. And I guess with a lot of people that are here tonight, I'm pretty surprised. Like, I didn't think it was going to be this kind of showing, but water runs downhill, but so does shit. And you guys, I don't know, like there's a lot of people that are just looking at you right now, trying to sort out where you stand. And I hope you make the right choice for the people that live here in Parksville and the surrounding area that depend on this water and, the beautiful nature that we have. Thank you, sir.
Are there any more first-time speakers, please? First-time speaker, come on down. If you give your name and address, thank you.
It's Heather Grant. I live at 19267
It
Sorry.
started, it was a tall guy.
That's okay. It's Heather Grant and I live at 19267 Corfield Street. And I am opposed to this for every reason that every other person in this room said they're opposed to it. And I hope that you guys do the right thing.
Thanks, Heather.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more first-time speakers in the house or outside the house? Come on up. Well, yeah.
Hello, my name is Rick Whiting. I live at 951 Terrian Way in San Periel. I'm absolutely opposed to this development. People have talked about the shortage of water. We get lots of water here, and it's sad that they had to actually use pumps in the reservoir last year to try and keep enough water in the river for the salmon to start with. And I don't think the council is prepared for a development of this size with the infrastructure, with fire department, fire service, schools. The schools can't even take in the number of students that are available now, never mind another big development. So I think the track for the schools, that'll just be filled with portables so they can save some money doing that, I think. But other than that, I think everybody that's spoken so far has opposed this other than the developers, and they have their own agenda and high-paid spokespeople to try and develop that. It's a area that, in that area, on Greig Road is a highway for all the wildlife to get into the parks. And it crosses a highway steadily. So how they haven't even mentioned that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there any more first-time speakers, please? Yes, sir. Come on down. You have 2 minutes, sir, and your name and address, please.
Thank you. James Craig, Forgotten Drive in San Periel. Good evening, council. As Area G Director, Leanne Wallace stated, this project is in the wrong location. As a retired fisheries technologist, I have worked on the Englishman for 20 years. I have swum the falls to the mouth dozens of times, counting steelhead, trout, and salmon for the province and DFO. I am on a first name basis with many of those fish. Fish of the Englishman do not want this development. They are against it. So am I. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Any more first-time speakers? Lynn? Thank you.
Well, I find this to be a really, oh, sorry.
Your name, please.
Yes, Lynn Brooks, 1418 Memorial Drive in Arrington, downtown Arrington.
Right.
I just wanted to say that this is, well, that this is one of the most engaging and heartening events that I've been involved in. I would hope that the desire of the vast majority of people not to allow this development to happen the way it's proposed is great. And you talk about councilors looking for support from the public. I think it's all here. And all the people here and other people that have written letters, it's really encouraging because we have to change what we've been doing. If we keep developing, if we keep living, if we keep consuming the way we've done for so many decades that got us into the mess we are in now, now's the time to change. And it would be really nice for Parksville to become a leader in thinking for the future and not doing the same old, same old. This is a real chance to make a difference in our community. And just thank you very much for listening to us, and good luck to all.
Thank you, Lynn. Are you coming down to the microphone? No. Okay. 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 Bye-bye. Good night. Any more first-time speakers? Calling twice. Any more first-time speakers? And for the third time, any more first-time speakers? Thank you. Hearing none, we'll move to the second-time speakers. Speaking to the 1-minute rule. Come on down.
Okay, council, thank you very much for coming in and hearing all our beefs. You've heard the negatives. Speak a little further back.
No, I was just hoping for your name and address, sir.
Oh, Steve, yeah, I was going to get to that.
There's been a couple.
As first speaker, I'm Steve Harris. I live at 1016 Little Mountain Road. I've been walking the Greig Road site with my dogs for over 30 years. I've lived here for 40 years. I've lived on the Mid-Island for 48 years. Do you want to see what happened to the traffic lights in Nanaimo? When I moved here in 1982, 1976, there were, I moved to Parksville in 82. There was 5 traffic lights from Southgate to Lantzville. There are now 37. Putting together a project like this, which is just plain too big to swallow all at once, okay? Craig Bay was built by people from Seattle. The money profit went to Seattle. It did not stay in our neighborhood on Vancouver Island. That's a beef, okay? So we got 2 things.
You get to come back for another round. Sorry.
Really?
You got 1 minute.
Oh, I got Duracells.
Good. Grab another coffee. We're going to be here. And for the 1 minute rule, if you could please repeat again our memories are good, but not that good.
That's
Please
fine.
repeat
Yes,
your-
my name's Heather Renson. I live at 1045 Forgotten Drive in
Thanks,
San
Heather.
Periel. I was going to talk further on traffic, but I've decided not to because I'm just overwhelmed tonight. I counted 300 people here tonight. And when we started, we being the Greig Greenway Society, started working on this project and trying to get people interested in Greig Road. One of the counselors said to me, you know, we have to make sure that this just isn't a couple of people who care about this. We need to make sure it's not NIMBYism and it's just you and your neighbors that care about this. And I am just so heartened tonight to see 300 people here in person to share their ideas with you and to support their friends who are sharing their ideas. So I know you got lots of letters. I know there are lots of reports to read. I hope you read them, but thank you for listening to this great group of beautiful people here tonight.
Thank you,
Thank
Heather. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Shelley Gertson, 161 Shelley Road, representing MIVI's, Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society. We are concerned about the impact of the overuse of trails along the Englishman River is having on riparian areas and fish habitat. We have seen how excessive use within riparian areas and unsanctioned trails leading down to and along the river have resulted in the collapse of sections of the riverbank, which are then exposed to more erosion during high flow events. This is resulting in the destruction of fish habitat. With this magnitude of development constructed so close to the river, we are concerned the riverbank will suffer heavy damage by uncontrolled use by the influx of new residents. We are happy to see the covenant for the trail requires the owner to fully construct, install, and complete the statute right-of-way area and trail in accordance with the city approving officer. Rather than leaving the maintenance in the hands of the owner, which appears to be the case with the covenant, I'm not sure, we suggest that the land be given to the city to manage and maintain. We noticed on a recent walkabout that a main trail parallel to the river is a raised bed, which we suspect may be a dike. The one thing I want to say is the upside to public access is that there will be eyes on the area and an awareness and appreciation of the environmental asset, which everyone here has demonstrated, that will definitely be diminished if there's no access or limited access.
Thanks,
Thank
Shelley.
you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Thank you. My name is Wayne Mormon. I live at 808 Mariner Way in Parksville. I want to carry on with my earlier presentation. And furthermore, the city completed an OCP in 2013, and it was clearly stated in the document that an OCP should be updated every 5 to 10 years. In the 2013 document, the Parksville population was forecast to be 1,364 in 2020. The actual population in the last census in 2021 puts the Parksville population at 13,642. Very good estimate. Well, in 2017, a senior city staffer stated the current reservoir at Arrowsmith Lake is a sufficient storage facility to supply the requirements of the city in the Neuse Bay through the projections of the current OCP plan. Parksville Qualicum News, October 12, 2017. We have now reached the population projections of the OCP and the limits of the dam. The OCP needs to be updated, taking into consideration the shortages of water. AWS needs another water supply source. Climate change has thrown a wrench into the sustainable water supplies. Development must be put on hold. A moratorium is suggested. This has happened in the past for both Parksville and Qualicum. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Next speaker.
Sherry Dance, 201 Moss Avenue, Parksville. I'll carry on with what I was saying earlier. During the pandemic and currently I hike at Greig Road every day. I'm so grateful to have this piece of natural paradise so close to home. I would have gone out of my mind during COVID if I wasn't able to hug a tree daily at Greig Road. Which brings me to my next point. This area is critical to our physical and mental health. I want to exercise and breathe clean air out in nature. We moved to Parksville because we love to hike and there was lots of green space to do that without going too far from home. We absolutely have to adjust to the changing climate. We have to implement more green building methods and we have to leave our ecologically sensitive green spaces alone. We cannot continue to pave over all our permeable surfaces without devastating consequences. Why would you consider building on a floodplain that floods every year? Keep the densification in the downtown area so that the people don't have to be so reliant on gas-powered vehicles. Make a large portion what is currently built affordable. This is a service-oriented city and there's a major staff shortage everywhere because the service workers cannot afford to live here. I'd also like to lodge my displeasure with the developers getting to speak here tonight.
Thank you,
They are
Sherry.
not the public.
Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Janet Anchor from 676 Turner Road. I'll continue here quickly. I just wanted to make a point here about the floodplain. I live kind of across the river and I see it change. I walk there twice a day and it's just not the floods, it's all the water that weeps up and down all the time and it gets worse and worse. So I'm asking, like, this water, it has to go somewhere once you develop the land. So where's it going to go? It's going to go down to Martindale. They already have serious flooding. It will go down to Plummer Road. They already have road infrastructure issues because of the river, San Perel, Surfside, lower areas of Pioneer. Why would you encourage building in flood zone areas when we know it's going to be really difficult and you're going to put people at risk and their insurance? And then the district group offered to set aside a piece of land so the wildlife had an area to roam in. Do you really think wildlife's going to stay in one area? And why would you even take that zoo-like mentality of let's put our wild animals in one section of this development?
Thanks, Janet.
Hello, my name is Barbara Loudon. My address is 956 Shorewood Drive in Parksville. Following the district group's open house, they conducted a survey in August 2022. Of the 577 citizens' comments that have been placed on the Parksville City website, only 18 comments were pro-development. It is clear again that the citizens in the area are against this development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Chair and Council. Leanne Wallace, 2024 K Road, News Bay. I wanted to just address the traffic study information that was being discussed. So the traffic study for this development is another example of disjointed planning for the area. When the city of Parksville assumed this property in 1979, they avoided assuming the highway and bridge costs for the city. The study that only requires information to be examined within the city of Parksville is the scope of the study that you've received from this developer, as would be the case for the standard. The bigger issue is we have a zigzag boundary at this area because of the annexation of land that Parksville conducted in 79, and that's leading to the majority of the conflict for the traffic along the highway and the bridge, which is at the provincial jurisdiction level. Thank you.
Thanks, Leanne. Next, please.
Catherine Wood, 804 Shorewood. I also wanted to mention that district, an agent for the current owner of the property, likes to make a lot of these covenants that apparently, according to them, address the public's concerns around water, sewer, flood, traffic, river, habitat, wildlife, etc. The problem with those covenant agreements that the city of Parksville has entered into with the current owner pursuant to section 219 of the Land Title Act PC is that it's not enforceable. And the only interested party that is a party to this agreement would be the city, cannot be forced to enforce it because it included a section that no member of the public or no other person can actually force the city to enforce that covenants. In other words, they're not worth the paper they're written on.
Thank you. Next, please.
I'm Barb Riordan. I live at 863 Fisherman Circle, Parksville, and I'm the president of the Mid-Vancouver Island Habitat Enhancement Society. It appears the development is close to or on a portion of the old industrial dump. We are concerned that industrial material encountered during development be handled according to waste management and contaminated sites regulations to prevent any toxic or hazardous material from entering the river and its groundwater source. In addition, any development on this property must be carefully overseen to ensure that nothing, including wastewater, is allowed to impact the river and riparian area. And this is particularly important in the construction phase when there's a lot of digging going around and you get accidents happening like oil spills. The health of our river and our community overall is our overriding concern. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Next. Or you got a voice like me. Come on up to the speaker. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, Cindy Shalust, 784 Terrian Way in San Perel. I wasn't planning on coming back up, but I feel compelled to speak about the traffic situation in San Perel. I heard the developer's representative indicating that they had done a traffic study that shows that there would be no impact or negative impact on this proposal. When I moved here 2 years ago, I joined the SPORA board, Shoreward San Perel Owners Residents Association, for this very fact that it's dangerous to leave where I live to get onto the highway or to get away from our subdivision. And I saw that the SPORA board had since 2016 been advocating with the RDN, with City of Parksville and Modi to correct that situation. I find it illogical. I don't think I need a study to know that adding 2,000 more cars coming down that road into town to go to school, to get their groceries, to have their recreation, to have their entertainment is not going to make this situation worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Some more second time. Oh, hi, Mike. Come on up.
Mike Mowat, still at 676 Turner Road, Parksville. I see numerous parcels of land in Parksville already cleared of trees in prime locations ready for development. Why approve the 1465 Greig Road site for development at this time? The developer only wants to develop a small portion of the property currently with no commitment to follow through with the project. Will we see the area cleared and left as an eyesore if they choose not to continue the development? Will it be left until another developer comes to the city with an even more densified plan? There is a great need for income-based housing in Parksville right now. We need to create housing that is affordable for those who work to support the services the residents of Parksville require to continue to enjoy what brought them to this area. This should be the focus of our current council, making Parksville a better place to live. Vote to keep Parksville a place that tourists want to come to. A place with beaches, trees, wildlife, hiking, and bike trails. A place to leave the big city behind and be in nature. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Any more second time speakers? This second inning. Here we go. Come to the speaker, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor O'Brien. I haven't heard anyone speaking about anything other than an 800 unit development. There's more than 800 units. If you look at page 4 of bylaw number 2000.138 under density, the maximum under section A, the maximum number of dwelling units within the entire CD 33 zone, excluding secondary suites, shall not exceed 800. A secondary suite is allowed on certain single-family dwellings. So we're not talking 800 units, which I keep hearing. We're talking more than 800, but I haven't heard anyone else address it. Thank you.
Thank you. Second time speakers. Any more second time?
Jason Hagstrom, 625 Martindale Road. I'd like to point out that within some of the documentation forwarded to the city from the developer, there is notwithstanding clauses in there that They state that if there was any reduction, as one speaker said, in the size or layout of their plan, that they would be able to buy back the greenway space donated to the city, regardless if it had been donated to a charity or not, up to 15 years after the last building was built. Then also in the traffic portion, there is also a notwithstanding clause saying that they are not obligated to put forth any funds just to do only to do a study and to contact with highways departments, but in no way, shape, or form are they obligated to put any funds towards it. They may do it if it's reasonable. And they expect to split it between highways and the city. So they seem to be putting forth less than nothing for us.
Thank you. Any more second time? Yes. We're here.
Laura Tomlin from 673 Pioneer Crescent. The traffic in the summertime coming off of the bridge, Orange Bridge, is nonstop. If people, 2,000 units or 2,000 people coming into town are going to add to that in the summer, it is going to be ridiculous. This will not work. Please change the plan.
Thank you. Any more second time speakers? It's okay, Heather.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Heather, 19267 Corfield Street. You know me. I just want to say that I have lived here 36 years and I absolutely love Parksville. That's why I'm very emotional. And I would request that you really listen to the people and to please stop taking the parks out of Parksville. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Any more second time speakers? Name and address again, please.
Linda Harbo, 780 Tarian Way, Parksville. I just wanted to say that I was going to finish my speech, but again, I am overwhelmed. I have been engaging with the public for over 9 months. And they do not. I can tell you, I've been canvassing, I've been doing coffee times, I've been out in the parking lots, I've been doing Facebook. We have 240 people on our Facebook page with Greig Greenway Society, and they do not want this. You know, I asked you, Mayor, if this property was not developed, do you have another plan for it? And you said, no, nobody has brought me anything. I'm here to tell you as president of Greig Greenway Society, that if you give us an opportunity, we will work tirelessly with environmental groups to try to preserve this piece of property for park so we can have it for everybody forever. Thank you.
You're getting naughty again. Keep the clapping down. Okay, second time speakers. Going once. Second time speakers. Going twice. Second time speakers. Three. Oh, just in the neck of it. Come on up. Hans, right? Hans. Go ahead.
It's easier the second time.
It is easy, yeah. Especially when I don't have to read. I can't read and think at the same time. That's one thing what I can't do. But anyway, I want to explain them before what I want to try to say. I researched at the Beachcomber area where I lived, and out of the 96 people, I got 96 houses. I got 60 houses which opened up to me. And out of the 60, 51 signed up, and 9 were not decided or didn't sign out of some reasons. It gives you an 85% average of, you know, being against it. And the same as here roughly in here, there's a high percentage which are against this subdivision. We don't want that one. What I like to say also, once we did a boo-boo and we approved something, you look at Surfside at the Englishman River. This was a real a real flop to get that one with 150 trailer homes developed. It was a real screw up. Do we do it again? Or do we learn from things like this and make a screw up again, which we say 10 years down the road, we fucked up? That's all we have to say.
Makes sense? Whoops. For the second time, for the third time, is there any more second time speakers?
First time?
Sorry,
Can I speak for the first time?
I actually called for the last first time, but go ahead. You could be the next to last first time, so go ahead. Are you saying you want 2 minutes? or what?
No, 1 minute's fine.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Nick Rosewall, 411 Despard. I grew up in Parksville and the area up there, like I learned to jump my bike. I caught some of my first snakes there. And now, as a young father, recently caught a snake for the first time with my 3-year-old. When I think of the town, that's like kind of from a bird's eye view, it's like a major stamp of like just greatness in land. Like, you know, we think Rath Trevor, like there's a lot of parcels that are really important. And as a contractor in my 30s, I, you know, stand to make a boatload of money developing houses in there, but like, I don't think that that's important. Like someone else mentioned, there's plenty of better areas and it just seems environmentally like irresponsible to choose that location. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. You made it. Goodness. Second time, last call. Going once, twice, 3 times. Now, for the third and final time, anybody who'd like to come and speak for the third time, you're back to 1 minute. Sir.
Okay, Steve Harris, 1016 Little Mountain Road. I'm going to bring you a punchline. First of all, we got to think about what the science is telling us about the magnetic changes in the world, the great weather patterns that are changing all over the planet. Do you want to see a Lake Mead here in British Columbia? It is coming. The scientists told us 30 years ago we would be experiencing the weather of California. We are now receiving a lot of that weather. They are dry as a bone, fires like you've never seen before. Okay, the big picture is very simple. Water. There is not enough water. I can envision within 20 years, this town in Qualicum will be looking for financing to run a penstock from Cameron Lake down here just to get water. As a scout, we were doing camping up at Trout Lake, which is now the reservoir for the Englishman River. It's not big enough. There's not enough water. This is on a sheer hill down there on Mount Copley. There can't be enough water put in there to supply another 800 dwellings. It's just too big. Let's go with low density. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker. Wayne, getting pretty good when I know you all by your first name.
That's right. Wayne Mormon, 808 Mariner Way, Parksville, BC. I, as you know, am aware that you're short of water. In 2019, Parksville's then Director of Engineering at a symposium publicly said the following: since the Aerosmith Dam was built, most of the time we have been able to stay above the minimum fisheries base flow requirement. Yes, for about 8 months of each year, but never during the summer or fall months when flows are critical for fish survival. Then in January 2020, at the opening of the new water treatment plant, he said the following: with climate change coming on, we have to find sources of water. It allows us to not only draw water out of the Englishman River, but respect the environment in terms of fish requirements for the river and the habitat that is there. Your own city staff have agreed that you're short of water. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. The next speaker, please. Hello, Janet.
Janet at 676 Turner Road. Environmental and climate change. Quick point, loss of green space and abundance of trees will have huge implications on the environment. just in my neighborhood, I live along the last green stretches of the river with lots of trees. Step out of our yard section, step out in the street, 5 to 10 degrees difference in the summer. So by removing the trees and natural vegetation, these will increase flooding, added stress on stormwater systems. Did you know that the benefits of just one 12 to 17-inch Douglas fir can, for an example, annually intercept 7,627.6 liters of water, and it has a monetary value of $79 to $128. You like money. Currently, the mature forest provides shade and cooling effect of the area. Cutting the forest down will remove all the natural free cooling effects and add to increasing temperatures, heat domes. Homeowners will then be required to use more air conditions to cool themselves as temperatures increase and put strain on the hydro system. Thank you, and please.
Thank you, Jen. Next speaker, please. Hello, hello, Sherry.
Hello. Sherry Dance, 201 Moss Avenue, Parksville. This is my chance to speak to all of you. We put your bums in those seats. Don't make me regret where I put my ex. You said, Mr. Mayor, that you would be transparent. In your inaugural speech, you said, we must protect our wetlands. So I hope you're going to live by those words. This is your chance to prove to the citizens of Parksville and all the people here that have spoken against this development that you are listening to us and that you are forward thinking. You do not serve the developers. Let me make that abundantly clear. Okay, you serve the people of Parksville, of which I'm one. And I'd like to remind you of the collective attitude of the citizens at the time of your election with regards to excessive development without major infrastructure upgrades. We have seen no upgrades for the developments that are currently undergoing. We voted for change. Be that change. Thank you.
Thanks, Sherry. Come on up, Michael.
Mike Mode, 676 Turner Road. I'd just like to make a comment on the experts who have spoken to have this amendment approved and their expert opinions. And I'd like to remind you that the expert opinion on the 703 Turner Road was that the derelict ditch was not worth studying because there was no water in it, which turned out to be salmon bearing. The traffic for Greig Road is going to have a benign effect. I think we have to look at that with a little bit of our own minds and saying, how are we going to add a couple of thousand vehicles a day and it's going to be a benign effect. The Wendy's development, the expert said that there wouldn't be any problems with the traffic backing up on the highway. One of the 4 restaurants is open there and we're already seeing problems with that. And the clause was put in that, well, maybe we could put the access on Pioneer Road or Pioneer Crescent instead, which is a residential street. And I hate to say it, but I think we're going to see that happening down the road. So I think we have to ask, are these people giving us the right story? Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Next speaker, please. Does anybody else wish to speak at this time for a third time?
Jason Hagstrom, 625 Martindale Road. I'd just like to ask all of you to take the opportunity to go up to Top Ridge Regional Park and take a look at how trampled the river's edge is currently. That's just from our seasonal use. If you were to put 2,000 plus people walking that trail to Top Ridge on a daily basis, or even down in where closer to the development, it would start to look the same. All the roots are bare, the pathway's wide, there's multiple paths going multiple directions. You would never be able to stop the destruction of nature through those areas. My 13-year-old niece asked me, well, what would happen to my swimming hole at Top Ridge in the summertime? There would be more people than the entire camper population at Rathtrevor Park in one location, parked right on the side of the river, flooding up to Top Bridge Park on a daily basis. That trail system cannot handle that type of traffic. Not to mention people trying to get to Raft River will be using Greig Road, jetting across Highway 19A, causing a pedestrian hazard, getting hit by cars, and or trespassing through the resort properties, not respecting their lands either, affecting their livelihoods.
Thank you. Thank you again. Are we at third and final time? So we'll conclude that Parksville Amendment Bylaw 2022, number 1492.6. Now allows the corporate officer to introduce the second item on the agenda.
The purpose of the proposed amendment to the City of Parksville zoning and development bylaw is to rezone from the agricultural A1 zone to a new comprehensive development CD 33 zone to facilitate a mix of residential densities and building types, home-based business, assisted living facility, limited retail trade, outdoor recreation, park and linear pathways at the property located at 1465 Greig Road, legally described as Lot 3, District Lot 129, Nanus District, Plan 2072.
Thank you very much, Ms. Weeks. I'd like to invite anyone who considers their interest in property to be affected by the proposed bylaw to come forward to the microphone and give their name and civic address for the record, please. And we're back to the 2-minute rule on this one, if needed.
Okay, my name's Wayne Mormon. I live at 808 Marino Way, Parksville, BC. In 1985, the province prepared a floodplain map for the Englishman River estuary and the lower reaches of the Englishman River. This map was prepared as a regulatory map to allow the city, RDN, and citizens to understand where floodwaters may rise to. It warned of the possible extent of flooding for a 1 in 200 year flood event. The map was adopted by the city and is in a 2013 OCP under Schedule E, dated 2013-0410. In 2021, the RDN updated the 1985 study, taking into consideration sea level rise and climate change, more severe weather storms, and higher river flows. The 2021 map was close to the provincial 1985 map, but did show more property flooded. The flood zone actually went up past the new water treatment plant. The RDN map is again a regulatory map and should be considered an important plan. Floodplain mapping of the 1465 Greig Road prepared by the developer shows less land flooded by a 200-year flood event, and in fact, their 500-year flood event is still showing less land flooded than shown in the 1985 and 2021 maps. Furthermore, their 500-year floodplain map omits some of the land previously shown in their 200-year floodplain map. Both sets of mapping cannot both be right. The regulatory map must prevail.
Thank you, Wayne. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, councillors. Leanne Wallace, 2024 K Road, Nanus Bay, BC. Is that better? I am opposed to this rezoning, and for many reasons that we've heard here this evening. The fact that this proposal is within the City of Parksville boundaries doesn't negate that this property land use impacts the greater river, the social, and the ecological systems that it's a part of. And this proposal directly conflicts with neighboring conservancy land use and their First Nation partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, Carmelo 865 Seashell Place, San Periel, Parksville. I'm very troubled by the proposed rezoning here. I thought we were moving towards third hearing on a zoning amendment. And what's been presented here tonight is quite different than what was discussed at first and second reading. There was no consideration of a 100-unit assisted living building as part of first and second reading. There was very limited retail space to be included in the property. And so I think that the introduction of those at this stage throws into question the validity of many of the assessments that have been done on the property, including the traffic assessment. There will be staff that will be required to access the assisted living home, clients that will go to the retail space, none of which were considered when the traffic assessment was done. And so I think that is one example of something that's underestimated with the introduction of these new zoning provisions, the assisted living home and the expansion of retail space. And so I don't know how it can be considered unless those assessments are redone. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Is there any other speakers for the first time want to speak to the zoning and development amendment bylaw 2022 number 200138?
Jason Hagstrom, 65
Sorry.
Martindale Road.
Sorry, Jason.
That's all right,
I
you're
have to
reading.
look up.
So currently zoned A1 agricultural, I feel is the correct zoning for this property. Taking it out of A1 agricultural would cause problems for, quite frankly, the council and the people of Parksville. If we start setting a precedent and removing lands from A1 agricultural to allow for developments, every developer in town will be approaching these landowners and trying to create these projects and bringing their experts to the table only to line their pockets full of money. A1 agricultural is appropriate for that property because it allows for better use of the land and for animal corridor use. If you were to put anything farmland, like even nursery use, there's not going to be 2,500 people there. There's going to be a farmer, a farmhand, some staff. It won't be working. It won't have people around 24 hours a day. It's just a better use of the land, and it is viable for that. It's never been attempted to sell that property for A1 agricultural. They just want to make money from it. They want us to rezone it so they can make money.
Thanks, Jason. Next speaker, please.
David Ranson, 1045 Forgotten Drive, Chair, Councilors. I just want to go on the record as reiterating that my objections and concerns, as I think many of that you've heard tonight, are both to the OCP amendment and to the bylaw change.
Yes. We get that, sir. Yes.
I would also like to reiterate this gentleman's comments. As somebody who's spent the bulk of my career in conserving and managing land for conservation and recreation purposes, the assessment that he has of what will happen to the recreational values on this land in the face of development are bang on. The small riparian zone with a regional trail sandwiched up against it and a density of 2,000 people will hammer that area in terms of the conservation values and the trail. There is nowhere anybody that is managing that land for conservation will be forced to try to fence it off to preserve the conservation values that are there. Then where will that leave 2,000 people who are living in that space to go and recreate? They are going to disperse into the neighboring lands, which are already denuded, and seeing the impacts of the recreational pressures that we're seeing in the region. We've been seeing that come through COVID and through the population growth that's happening in the region. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next speaker, go ahead.
I didn't realize we were now speaking to the OCP amendment, so I apologize. I probably should have brought my concern forward at this time. So I'll just reiterate my concern with looking at the OCP. I'm not sure that this change has validity or even legality to be made based on the statements in your own OCP that say you can only make changes to correct errors or to reflect policy changes. And I've not seen anything that tells me there's an error that's been made or that you're making a policy change that would allow you to amend this OCP. Thank you. Oh, did I say my name? Cindy Celeste, 784 Terrian Way.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I'm back. I'm Heather Ranson. I live at 1045 Forgotten Drive. And I do want to go on record that I also oppose the zoning bylaw as well as the OCP amendment. And while I'm here, I've got my 2 minutes, I'll finish the traffic problem. So the Bunton Associates report, when you crunch the numbers, their traffic report looks good. They're able to reconcile the fact that Tuan Road does not meet Resort Drive. And so by putting in a light with a phased advance, it makes sense. The traffic can move safely. What it doesn't address, though, is the fact that people are going to get frustrated in traffic and they're going to find other ways around. So instead, if I was coming out of the development on Tuan Road and I had to stop at Industrial Way and I could see 9 cars in front of me, it would probably occur to me to turn right and go down Industrial Way along Herring's Gull and wait at that intersection, which would have fewer cars. And so essentially what we're doing is we're pushing the traffic in both directions and we're creating problems in both areas. One other feature of the Bunt report suggested that we add an additional northbound and southbound lane on Highway 19 in order to accommodate all of the traffic that's flowing out of Resort Drive and Tuan. That's great, but there isn't room for 4 lanes on that road in perpetuity. You cannot get across the bridge, for example. So they don't determine how long that lane should be. But by the time you get to the ridge, you have to narrow down again. You're back to 2 lanes. So again, we're just kicking the can down the road, if you will. We're not making the problem go away. And this might be okay traffic if you live in Vancouver and Surrey, but it's not okay traffic on the island. We love our chill vibe and I hope we can maintain it. Thank you.
Thanks, Heather. Next speaker, please.
Hello again. My name is Barbara Loudon. I live at 956 Shorewood Drive. Just for everyone that's still here tonight, I would like to remind everyone of the mayor's inaugural speech. He said, "My priority will be to act on the issues most important to you. You want to remain a small town atmosphere and a vibrant downtown with diversified housing options. And you want to maintain a healthy lifestyle with more trails and recreation options." Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for the first time on the Second Amendment? Well, hi, Sherry.
Hi. When I first moved to Parksville, I had a real hard time finding a way to make a living. There's not a lot of livable wage jobs in this area. So I discovered Greig Road just because I have a dog and I love to hike. And I just started walking there with my own dog. This was probably close to 10 years ago. As a result of that, I met some dog walkers and started walking with them, who ended up hearing my story and saying, "Why don't you do this for a living?" Even though I'm still not making really a good living, I love what I do. And that is what I do now. I walk dogs off leash at Greig Road. It is the only place in Parksville to do that. Dogs do not like to be contained, and this is a dog-loving town. Everyone here has one. We control our dogs. We don't they do run free, but we also keep them under control. So for me, if this development goes through, I will be out of work once again in this area and not happy about it. Greig Greenway Society has been working on this issue now for 9 months. We have done tons of research. We have been out in the community. We have done information sessions. We have asked for extra delegations to this council and been denied. We're not sure why. The developer seems to get whatever they ask for, and we're the public that you serve. I suggest that you change that attitude right away. And I suggest that you heavily listen to the people that have come here, given up their time, and unbelievably voted against this ridiculous development. Our water is our biggest resource, and we have to protect it. And I thank you for your time and your consideration. And I also hope you're not going to make us wait a really long time for a decision. Thank
Jerry.
you.
Second time. Second time for the Second Amendment. Any other speakers? Speaker Wayne, are you coming up? Sure. So second time, so this will be 1 minute time.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, with the extreme weather events happening, it is no longer advisable to construct new buildings in or adjacent to floodplains. The risk to property and lives is not acceptable. There are many reports written on building in floodplains, and the recommendation is don't do it. Insurance is not possible within floodplains, and furthermore, the federal government recently told Ontario they will no longer provide flood relief for new construction in floodplains. I understand the province recently legislated this and will not permit new construction in floodplains. Good for them. A recent letter to a concerned Parksville resident dated November 17th, 2022, and from the Deputy Minister, Ministry of Land, Water Resources and Stewardship states, it is acceptable best practice to not develop infrastructure such as homes and roads in or immediately adjacent to floodplains or other riparian areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. Is there any other speakers at this time for the second and third time? Sure. You have 1 minute, Sharon.
Say my address again.
Sure, for the record.
201 Moss Avenue.
Thank you.
I just want to let all of you know that no matter how this vote goes, we are watching you and we are going to hold you accountable to what you said during the election. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone left to speak on? Go ahead, Jason.
Jason Action,
Jason, go ahead.
65 Martindale. I'd just like to speak to the council and say, I do understand that this first and second reading was under Ed Main's council, and that this is your first chance at a meeting with us. And I'd like to thank you guys for listening today, and that I hope that you've heard the people and that you'll stand with us and set this right for all of the people that live in the area.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Is there anyone further to speak? First, second, third time? Hearing none. So part 3 of this public hearing is to acknowledge the fact of the correspondence. The correspondence received by noon on Friday, February 10th, 2023 has been logged and made available online and in hard copy for public viewing prior to the public hearing. All correspondence, including correspondence received after noon on February 10th up to the adjournment of this public hearing, has been collected and will now be received and considered by council and will form part of the public record. The correspondence shall be made available for viewing after the public hearing as soon as practical. So, do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation that all correspondence received regarding the proposed plan Parksville Amendment Bylaw 2022, number 1492.6, and or zoning and development amendment bylaw 2022, number 2000.138 be received? Do I have a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Beal. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. That is carried. I would like to at this time ask for a motion to terminate the public hearing for Plan Parksville Amendment Bylaw 2022, number 1492.6, and Zoning and Development Amendment Bylaw 2022, number 2000.138. Could I have that, a mover on that? Moved by Councillor Grenz, seconded by Councillor Wood. All those in favor? That's unanimous. Carried. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to say that I'd like to advise the public that once the public hearing is adjourned, council cannot entertain further submissions or correspondence from the public on the proposed bylaws. At the conclusion of this public hearing, I'd like to ask for a mover or a motion to adjourn. Do I have a mover and seconder for adjournment? Moved by Councillor Martin. Second by Councillor Wood. All those in favor? Carried unanimous. That is carried. Thank you for all of your patience and all your comments. Have a good evening.